Welcome, dirty peasants, to Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. This is episode 52, and we are discussing Amphibia Season 3, Episode 14, The Root of Evil and the Core and the King. I'm your host, the Maticon, and joining me today we have King of the Uzbeks,
Hello.
PrincessCthulu,
How's it going, everybody?
and Nick.
What's up, y'all?
So, news this week. Matt did an interview with Screenrant about Season 3 and this final batch of episodes, and it's a nice article, and we'll probably talk about the last bit of news and the new screenshot we got after we talk about the Core and the King. So, I think we can just get right into The Root of Evil, which was directed by Joe Johnson, written by Geneva Mai, and storyboards by Cassie Zwart and Imbal Breda. So this episode we got a quick look at Utopia Castle, like destroying stuff in the background and Frobo's attacking, and the planners are trying to recruit people, and Hop Pop's unhappy that they're not interested in horticultural stuff. And then eventually they end up in... Well, they're taking the flagon. They end up in this like really weird, strange town, obsessed with gardening, vegetables, everything Hop Pop likes, and that's when we get the whole reveal with the apothecary. He makes his return. At the same time, the planners are tracked, and Andrias' own army shows. A squad of Frobos come. They start attacking, and then eventually everyone teams up to take the Frobots down, and we end up with Apothecary as a new ally for the Resistance. And that was just like a brief summary of the Root of Evil. Talking about it now, it doesn't sound like too much, but personally I love this episode. I just love the whole like cult storyline. This is like another one of Amphibia's unofficial Halloween episodes, and I was waiting years for Jeremy or Apothecary to come back, and I'm super satisfied about that. And yeah, the music was great too. The animation was great. I have a couple of gripes with this episode, and we'll get into that once we go through the segment itself. But overall, I just had a lot of fun with this segment. Nick, what are your thoughts on The Root of Evil?
I mean, all around really fun episode. I agree with you on way some of the music. I mean, it really slaps. Like, I did not expect it to actually be this great, but I mean, it really was. Besides that, I don't know, this season has been killing it with all the returns it's had, and this is probably the peak of it, right? Like, this is the best they ever could have done, and God, I just loved it. And yeah, I think it's not my favorite of this new batch. Like, I had a lot of things I was very pleased with, but I thought it was just a fun episode, nothing really beyond. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
All right, thank you, Nick. Uzbeks, what are your thoughts on The Root of Evil?
I liked it. I thought it, had a fairly straightforward plot. I liked the callbacks to season 1, of course. I think, I don't know, maybe this wasn't for me in all ways. It was a very good episode, don't get me wrong, but it is not, my all-time favorite.
Thank you, Uzbeks, and yeah, that's understandable. PC, what are your thoughts on The Root of Evil?
I mean, I personally loved it. I think its only major flaw is that it was paired with the episode it was paired with. It is hard for a relatively low stakes but incredibly well done Amphibia adventure to really stand up to this particular episode pairing. But personally, I think it's probably one of the best episodic Amphibia adventures that we've seen in a while.
All right, thank you, PC. So yeah, like the segment starts off with them like trying to recruit people into the resistance, and we can kind of see that Andrias's army is like kind of like trashing towns and destroying them, and the castle's cannon is probably just like targeting, I guess, like high value targets, whatever. And you can kind of see the effect of like all these people are getting displaced, and the planners and Loggle are trying to. I don't want to say they're trying to like take advantage of that. They're just there.
They're recruiting.
Yeah, they're recruiting, and yeah, I just like that shot of just the castle in the background, just like we kind of it's reminding us like the scale of its power when like the explosions in the background are almost as tall as the mountains.
I do like that, it shows like, a line of refugees fleeing their home because of the war. It shows the actual impact of this conflict rather than just having the resistance fighting robots and just set piece.
Yeah, it's shockingly grounded. Like, we have a Frobot like crushing a frog skull. They're not playing around.
Right. And yeah, we get to see Anne the planners trying to recruit people and handing out plan fits, and then that one guy is just asking like, what are the perks? Like, I mean,
It's like,
I get it. There's always those people like during these times, and I mean, Anne rightfully points out like you don't want to fight back again.
yeah, you don't want to save your world, bro. Like, you don't get enslaved, the world doesn't die. Like, those are some of the good benefits.
And then of course Hop Up attempts to wow them with his with apparently the resistance has like their underground watering system, and he's showing off that plant that was grown underground, which is, I guess, in this world it's
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but you get to grow produce underground without the fear of getting getting hit by an airstrike, like, and especially in this world, at least, even though Andrias has like technology centuries ahead of the rest of Amphibia, like they're pretty like everyone else is pretty much working off of like medieval era tech. So credit to the resistance.
Yeah,
and poor Hop Hop didn't advertise that well enough.
Yeah, underground hydroponics is pretty impressive given the circumstances.
Yeah, I'm surprised they weren't even like interested, right? Like, we just blew them off when he started talking.
I mean, if nothing else, I mean, you're going to be angry that your home was just destroyed by Andrias, and I mean, the Resistance offers a relatively safe location.
Yeah,
I think a few more people would be interested, although they might just want to get away from the fighting.
I think it's probably the latter for the most part.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people just did not want to have to fight against the fleet of flying death robots with the giant laser cannon.
Yeah, that's understandable. Like, I think even back in the Sprivey episode, like Sasha, like Ribbiton is kind of like smuggling supplies for them, so it's like it's possible that the rest of Amphibia kind of just surrendered and then was able to go on with their day-to-day lives.
It does kind of seem like the Society of Amphibia is still somewhat intact, if now underneath Andrias's thumb.
Yeah, I mean, from what we saw, the Valley is the only place that has an open resistance. Beatrix and the Toads are still, underground, not openly fighting.
And
I mean, didn't we see thought we saw this one map. I think it was either Hometown Road or
It was Grimes' Pupil.
But I know they showed a map.
It was Grimes'
Grimes'
Pupil where we saw them, man.
Yeah, they showed a map of like all the areas under control by Anderson. Yeah, outside of Frog Valley, pretty much everything's just like under his thumb, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And then underground watering systems weren't enough to interest these potential recruits, but then of course Buff Loggle shows up.
Look,
The man, the myth, the legend.
All I'm saying, if that Floggle showed up and started posing shirtless, you'd have my attention. All right?
Yeah, I don't blame you.
And apparently this is like a reference to like that Full Metal Alchemist character, something Armstrong.
Yes. Armstrong. It's a pretty clear reference to that character. They have the same sparkly flower background.
Oh, okay. And then Loggle does like the praise the sun sign pose. And...
Infinity's just been impressing me with all the references. Like, I don't know, there are just certain anime that I never expect them to ever even touch.
And surprisingly, like this is one of the few anime references I actually got, because Full Metal Alchemist is one of the few animes I've actually seen, but it's like, hey, I recognize this weeb stuff.
Yeah, you probably get one of their jokes.
Yeah, so Loggle kind of... Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just gonna say, I still think like the most surprising reference I saw from the show is still the Kill la Kill one from Spivey. Like, I never expect them to do something like that.
Oh yeah, with Fern.
Loggle doesn't really do much this episode, but always good to see him.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Loggle's
surprised
just there to
see
look pretty.
Yeah,
It's true. He's the eye candy.
Yeah, he's the one who he's like the guest star that everyone tunes in to see, but
he's the fan service.
Yeah.
And the planner, like, Hop Op's kind of moping about how no one appreciates his hobby, and while that's happening, like, those dragonfly robots that we saw back in Tai Feud, something similar shows up and detects Anne, or the planners, one or the other, and also acts as a tracking device, and it latches itself onto the wagon. And yeah, that's... We get the scene of Hop Op, and yeah, again, Hop Op's moping around, and the planners are the kids are trying to comfort him, and obviously they're not into the same hobby as him, but just that family support. And
I mean, this isn't really a complaint, but I still just find it funny that Hop Op, he got salty over his underappreciated hobby in the middle of the war. It's a classic Hop Op.
I mean, if you want to, we can tie it back to Mother of Holmes, where he's concerned about his age. I mean, Polly had, combat ability. Anne has combat ability. Sprague is a good commando, as we saw. So I guess he's sort of wondering about his place, although that's never really... Listen.
It wasn't really brought up, but I guess he did sort of find his own feeling of usefulness. I mean, after Mother Holmes, right? Like, she listed out the what you can appreciate about old age. So I don't know. Yeah, I just thought it was pretty funny, honestly. Just the idea of like these refugees escaping from a battle zone, and Hopham's like, dude, why don't you like vegetables? Like, it's just really funny. Sorry.
yeah, and then eventually they're going down this path with Bessie, and then like all of a sudden they just hit a steep slope and fall into a misty gorge, I guess. And personally, this was like the weakest part of the episode for me. It's just like the way that they just suddenly like they took a wrong turn, or even they didn't take a wrong turn. They just went down their regular path and kind of fell in. That's the only gripe I had with this episode. It's like maybe there could have been another way to just have them end up in this strange town, but it was quick. It was a quick way to get to Garden Town.
Yeah, it was very much. And then the plot starts from the writers rather than segue. But, you know.
And I think Loggle was like playing like solitaire in the wagon.
Yeah. Yeah. I am glad we got Bessie and the wagon for this one. You know.
Yes, we haven't seen them since, I guess, Bessie and Michelangelo. Like, at least
Bessie
It has
was
been a while.
at least
Bessie was in a. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I just meant like both Bessie and the like them actually riding the wagon. Like in the third temple, it was
Yeah.
kind of a cop out where they were just packing, and then they just ended up taking Joe Sparrow. But yeah, I'm still salty about that. But yeah, I guess Bessie and Michelangelo was the last time we saw the wagon, and that was about end of April last year. So it's been a while.
So it's been a while. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool to see Bessie again to do something again. Like they didn't have much of a reunion, back in the Commander Ann, right? But hey, it's still good that we're getting stuff like this.
Yeah.
And then we get to Hop Hop wakes up in Garden Town. That's the name of the town, right? Garden Town?
Gardenton.
Gardenton. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so they wake up in Gardenton, and I love how it just starts off with all of it's just so unsettlingly pleasant.
It's so profoundly creepy.
And especially with like the choirs in the background, like
Music goes hard.
I mean, this scene is pretty clearly a reference to the 2019 horror film Midsommar with the dresses and the weird. Well, we'll get to it, but it's just so creepy.
Yeah, and I mean it's got some Wicker Man vibes with the whole preserve the harvest view of things. Love their crops. But yeah, I mean it's in the same way that Children of the Spore was like a zombie movie send up. This is like a folk horror send up, and that's good. I mean, you don't see a lot of sort of slasher parodies in animated movies, zombie references, but you don't really see this sort of folk horror.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, we've seen slasher parodies and monster movies and Amphibia.
Yeah, it's a horror parody that isn't as common to be parodied.
and also it's not like they're not referencing like a super iconic movie. This is actually like a pretty recent film.
Yeah, it relatively recent, only a few years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just looking at the shot of Gardenton, and yeah, they have like that streamer thing. And like when I saw all these like people, all the farmers or the cult, when I saw them all wearing hats, that's when I knew what kind of episode this was.
That's when you knew. That's when you started to believe.
Yeah, I think I posted in the chat like I got a feeling, and then I just didn't reply for the rest of the episode.
Yeah,
I felt a little suspicious. I was like, come on, I mean, is this really going to be it?
I mean, even the tadpole was wearing a hat.
Yeah, I did not catch that. I thought between like the giant vegetables and Loggle being there, I thought it was going to be the veggie monsters from Handy. And then Loggle steps on the plant, and the plant gets offended. So yeah, I thought up until the scene in the greenhouse, I was bamboozled.
Yeah, and then we get a rundown of what Gardenton is, and Hop Pop's amazed by it, and we get to meet like that, not the leader of Gardenton, but like rather like probably the second command, basically. Or I shouldn't say command, because this isn't really
Yeah.
it's not really an army. It's mostly just like the deputy, not deputy. Basically the leader, but not really. I guess that's the
Like
Yeah.
the greeter or something. Like you can be like the greeter or something.
And yeah, they get the rundown. They explain that they intentionally like hide themselves. They don't want to be. They don't really want outsiders to know where they are, and then eventually like Hop Pop asks them to take them to their leader, and I kind of like how, because usually that line is used for like aliens. That was my first thought when I
Yeah.
heard that line, and then that only fueled my expectations.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, Hop Pop's admiring everything and all the flowers, and then Loggle steps on that flower, and I don't blame you, Uzbeks, for thinking this was like the veggie monsters from Handy Ann coming back, because it wouldn't be out of place like at all, especially with Loggle there too.
Yeah,
Well,
'cause I
with
know, like-
Loggle and the turnips that we saw being planted, I was like, oh, is it?
Yeah, plus some of like the promo art I saw from the crew, like it just made me think, like, could they have made a comeback here? Also, just the fact that Loggo's here. I mean, it's in the description said "Anna the Planter," so having Loggo be the extra, that I did start leaning towards that, especially after the scene of him stepping on a flower, right? Like, I really thought that's where we going until we got to the greenhouse.
Yeah, and then Loggle stepped on that flower, and then everyone freaked out. And it's like, it's like that. I was reading through the Midsummer synopsis, and something. I don't want to say something similar happens. Just basically something happens, and then like everyone like cries out in pain, and it leads to something else. I probably shouldn't spoil this movie, even though. So just basically everyone freaks out and gets super emotional, and I just love how uncomfortable the planners are. And then even Loggle's like they have no idea what's going on. That's the classic cult thing.
Yeah. Oh, just
I
the
did like
music too. I'm seeing it again. Like, this is just super freaky.
good.
Yeah, and especially when they all leave, and then you see them all like huddled around the flower and just chanting and letting it and it grows back again. That's when you know shit's fucked. But
I'm rewatching the scene and like I keep forgetting about the one guy who picks up that rock and just
smashes it against
smashes into his face over and over again. Holy shit.
I did like Anne's line. What was it? Is it insensitive if I say this is a bit of an overreaction?
Wait. That was just so unnerving.
And even TJ Hill's
Children just start holding their hands.
And even TJ Hill's music, it's just that one it's not chanting, it's just that one scream with the music. It's part of the soundtrack, just that one I guess singer is just shouting, holding that note for 5 seconds. Not 5 seconds, longer than that. Yeah, it's just super creepy. And yeah, I just love how all these Amphibia episodes they start the first 3 minutes are just just the regular Amphibia weird, and then once you reach the halfway mark or a little bit before that, it goes from regular Amphibia weird to unsettling Amphibia weird.
Yeah.
I think with Children of the Spore, it was like the first time Hop Hop uses the spores, and then A Night at the Inn is when like I think when Polly has that night, like Polly's like trying to sleep and she imagines that just that creepy skeleton in the corner. Yeah, so they get to the greenhouse. It's like super dark, but then immediately we open the door and you see those purple spores here and there.
I think something. So this is. I mean, this. I know that we're currently talking about just the plot, but something that I did notice, is that this stuff used to be built. Like it looks like the greenhouse was built long before this this whole place was founded.
Yeah, I mean, there's a rotted corpse. So it's
Yes.
Oh, so I got ahead of myself, but yeah, it does seem to predate.
Yeah. Something else kind of important, not super important to note, but in some of the backgrounds of Gardenton, we can see what appear to be Nordic runes, which normally wouldn't mean anything like, oh, it's just another Midsummer reference. But because we know about, well, it is kind of next episode, but the existence of Nordic runes in Amphibia might actually mean something.
Well, I mean, we already knew about the Viking before,
right?
So,
but yeah, we knew about Amphibia stuff with Vikings, but Viking stuff in Amphibia is a completely different matter.
Like, what kind of runes were you talking about? I'm just like fast forwarding through the Gardenton scenes.
Let's see.
Are you just talking about like the Scandinavian stuff in general as the aesthetic?
There is, but there are some like explicit Nordic runes like in a background somewhere. I'll find it.
Okay. And then like
it could mean absolutely nothing, but it's just something that I know.
Like I kind of thought all these greenhouses were built after their leader arrived, like because I think inside the greenhouse itself it had like purple spores in the stained glass, but
I think it is because look at the outside of the greenhouse. It was built a long time ago.
Oh, okay, it's like
into disrepair.
It's beaten down. Yeah, okay, yeah, makes sense.
So I don't think it was made by
the current occupant.
Yes, okay. And then we're not there yet.
I mean, we should just get to it now, just so we can talk about it. Like, Hop Up tries talking to the guy in the chair, and he's like, it's like we, the audience, can see it's like pitch black, and we know something's up, and
there are purple mushrooms everywhere.
Right, and then Anne shines her phone. We see the skeleton, and it freaks everyone out. And of course, we hear that laugh, and all the purple mushrooms start glowing, and then the the bug of the hour shows up, like the apothecary Jeremy shows up again, and
the crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
He's returned to us.
As was prophesied.
Like, this is just... Oh man, I'm just so happy Jeremy showed up again. I love how Hop Hop immediately refers to like Jeremy the bug, Jeremy the beetle, and then Apothecary does the same gag he did in Children of the Spore, where he's like, "Hey, my eyes are up here." He wants you to look at
look at the mushroom.
Yeah, look at the mushroom, not like the host size. And
like that's just rude.
Yeah, and then Loggle freaks out and tries to leave, but then those muscles just don't help. he just gets pinned down. Uh, yeah, I'm just listening to this again, like, huh. I like how the way Haba just, like, describes what happened in Children of Sports. It's like, oh, I thought you went extinct. I saw to it myself. Like,
He didn't even.
I wouldn't have brought that up personally.
Yeah, when he has you at your mercy, his mercy.
like,
Some discretion may be advised.
yeah, like, remember when, like, Apothecary was, like, begging for his life, and then Hop Up's like,
Yeah, literally, like,
nah, just throws him into
Yeah.
Bessie.
I'm
savagely
okay. I'm okay with
murders
this.
him. Literally murders him. Like, he's begging him. He's the last member of his species, and Hop Up just murders him. Yeah. But I mean, I will say, like, I'm still blown away that all this actually happened. Because I know, like, originally, right, like, this was just a joke that me and Thumb were making. And then, like, once we started seeing what was making the returns in 3B, right, like, the possibilities slowly grew over each week. And then when we got, like, when Barry showed up, I was thinking, okay, anything is possible at this point. Anything can happen, right? And then we started getting, like, those teasers for Rid of the Evil. So I just thought, like, holy shit, could this actually be true? And then actually happened. And I'm just still, like, I'm still sitting here just jaw dropped that this is actually all real. That this isn't just a fucking dream or something.
Like,
Like, this is amazing.
yeah, when Cassie Zwart posted her, like, episode teaser or episode promo poster, it was basically just, like, the title itself. I was just like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be, like, a horror-themed episode, like, and
Yeah, it just felt so. I don't even know how to describe it. But yeah, something just felt so off about it. Like, it just. I guess it was. Yeah, I guess it was the way they wrote the title. Like, it just looks really unnerving right there. But everything else just felt so, like, I don't know. I guess, like, the certain, like, the point of view it sort of gave. It was like someone was, like, watching the planters or something as they made their journey. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it just looked really creepy.
I think something interesting to note that I just realized is that Jeremy, for whatever reason, did not, or sorry, apothecary, whatever, did not immediately spore them.
yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, we got.
Well,
Oh, okay, go
I
ahead. PC.
think that's because well, I mean, it's about kind of the mellowing out of the character and the fact that he's working with people now.
Yeah.
Right, and we got that. They reused the animation from the end of Children of the Spore with Jeremy, like, taking the spores. So I'm happy that the animators could save, like, 5 seconds.
Well, I mean, it's a flashback of that exact,
Yeah, exactly. And see, the advantage, what makes this episode so great is that it alleviates the stress of animators during this time. Props to the root of evil.
Does it?
You know what? Hey, you know what?
I guess.
Now my opinion of it raises you. Now I like
guess
this episode more just because you said that.
Well, we also got a shortened intro, so maybe there's a trade off there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like PC.
I didn't even notice there's no intro.
No,
Yeah, it's just
no.
a title card.
Wow, I didn't
I mean,
even realize. Wow.
Given what they needed the time for in Corn the King, I'm not super surprised by that.
Yeah, makes sense. I didn't even notice. No, I was so sucked in.
Yeah, so PC kind of brought this up, how, like, Apothecary didn't spore them immediately, and we kind of see, like, in the flashback, like, what Apothecary's been up to. It's like he was making his way through Amphibia. He was kind of having. He mentions it's like a harsh world, and he was picked on by seagulls, and eventually, like, the people of Gardenton found him, and you kind of see, like, back in Children's Sport, he wanted to take over all of Amphibia, and here he's talking about how, like, the townspeople kind of took him in, and then they won his spores to, like, help grow their crops, and he's pretty much just, like, ranting about, like, how, like, how they were able to make Gardenton a success. Like that was like all he was kind
Yeah.
of talking about, and yeah, it's just nice to see like he's kind of content now with like what he has.
It's a bit weird, but I guess I can't judge.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see this kind of development coming for this. I don't even know how to describe it. This maniac parasite or whatever. But I don't know. It's honestly pretty cool. The more I think about it, you know,
And we
like,
can.
Oh, go ahead.
And we can. And we can. I think interesting that we can see, like, even when the hive mind mode is activated, the townspeople are still individuals.
Can he fake that? Like, nominally, that should be within his power. If he's in total control, he could fake
Yeah,
that,
he could.
right?
He could fake it, but I'm talking about when we had some of the townspeople talking to Apothecary Gary.
Yeah, but couldn't he fake that as well? Like, I'm
Why
not
would
saying
he-
he is.
But he wouldn't need
Why,
to.
why would
To trick them.
Why would he fake having one of his townmates disagree with them later in the episode?
Because he wants to trick them, which I realize isn't actually what happened. Don't worry. But yeah,
I guess yes, he could theoretically be faking it, but
You have to believe in Jeremy. He wanted.
I guess it's possible. But the fact that people disagree with him when there are not other characters observing him makes it seem highly unlikely. The only reason he would be faking it is to fool the invisible audience.
yeah.
Which
Although at the end, yeah.
Like, unless
this may just be my. We'll get to it later, but this may just be some of my thoughts at the ending of the episode leaking through, rather than actually.
But just like the way the flashback ends with like everyone cheering that their pumpkins are healthy, it's like that's pretty much all like they really wanted. Like that was their goal. Like just make Gardenton
Yeah.
great, and then like that's just where the flashback ends, and then yeah, he's not Jeremy. Apothecary kind of just brings up how like everything was so much easier when like they all willingly like wanted his help. And yeah, it's like in a weird way, like this cult was perfect for Jeremy, and Apothecary was perfect for this cult. Like,
Jeremy's the only one who.
It's really questionable. I don't know. It's like questionable on like I don't know. It's like questionable on the moral side of it. Like I guess I'm kind of happy for them. Like they both groups kind of got exactly what they wanted, right? Like Jeremy I guess he wanted to. He didn't really expand the species, but I guess he wanted to. How would you even describe it? Complete his goal, his instinct, whatever. But yeah, no, it's pretty. Honestly, the more I think about it, I think I like this episode even more now. Just thinking about all this stuff, it's actually pretty cool. Like it's weird. It's a weird concept for like this parasite, this mind controlling parasite, to develop like this. But I mean, it's amphibious, so it works for it.
And keep in mind, like. Every time I'm complimenting the root of evil, always assume that I'm just over exaggerating and just overreaching. But like, since Jeremy is the host, we kind of saw that like the Beatles relied in like strength in numbers, and even like Jeremy was the one who taught Hop Hop about like the Valley community. I know it was a gag episode, but, like. Like there's that strength in numbers, but it's not like a high.
That theme.
I mean,
that theme. The fact that theme was maintained for these 2 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was overreaching at that point, but
Yeah.
Like it feels like an accident, but damn it, it worked.
It's a happy accident. Yeah, and then Hop Hop is like, it's pretty much the audience where we're just even before that, like the spokesperson for Gardenton talks about how they're in perfect harmony now, and when when everyone else in the room all repeat the line in like perfect unison, then yeah, you can kind of see where the where the mind control kicks in, or the hive mind.
Yeah. The switch flips.
Right, and then Hop Bob just immediately crushes some flowers, and the rest of the kids do that too to get out.
And
So
Loggle's muscles suddenly work again.
Is the implication here that Gary has also spored all of the plants?
I think it's just that as a mushroom, which isn't a plant, but a natural thing, he has like a deep-seated connection to the plants. Like, I can't think of any time there's any spores on the plants.
Yeah, we never see them growing out of the plants, of course, but
Yeah.
the only way that they could have like a connection to the plants is if Gary has spored them.
Yeah, that's what like confused me about the episode, because not confused. It's just like we know it's like it's not going to be like a fleshed out thing. It's just that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the explanation is that the plants are all part of the hive mind.
Somehow, like,
So mushrooms can grow on plants, I guess. It's I don't know. It's not.
But there's not
what
really
we do.
a mind to add to the hive.
Well, no, but it just like connects them to the hive mind, and I believe in the flashbacks, if I'm not mistaken, we actually see like oh no, I'm just watching it now.
yeah, there's planting
We don't.
beans.
So yeah, there's planting beans. So I'm not entirely sure when the spores are added to the plants. Maybe it's just like at the roots. But the only way this makes sense is if the plants are literally part of the hive mind. In my eyes, at least.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's never gonna get a proper explanation, but like the most we can work off of is that because both Jeremy and the townsfolk themselves are so like we're so connected with like in tune with nature, or really interested in this, like the spores just heightened all of that, and it was like a perfect symbiotic relationship. It's not gonna get an explanation. It's just like cool plant powers.
Yeah.
Plant track.
At the
plant
end of the
coven.
day, that's all it is.
Yeah, so the planet, like Loggle pretty much just like knocks everyone out of the way, and they get a path out. They try to free Bessie, and we see Bessie tied up. She's like up suspended in the air, and apparently this is also another reference to Midsummer, but I just saw that in a comment somewhere. I didn't.
It's in a way. I won't get into it because I'm not going to spend the whole episode talking about Midsummer, but
So yeah, they try to free Bessie, and then eventually Apothecary and the other, I forgot the name of the village. Greentown, not Greentown. Gardenton, sorry. Yeah, so Gardenton citizens come. They're about to have like a little confrontation, but then the tracking device, the tracking dragonfly Frobo, comes back into play. It's sent in a wave of like it's sending reinforcements to take out what it assumes is the resistance hideout. And then of course the incinerator Frobos arrive. They start burning everything up, and while the Gardenton citizens are like distraught by that, they lose control of the plants grabbing the planters. And yeah, like I love the design of. I know these Frobots are basically just like a recolored of the standard black combat Frobo, but
they
red.
do look so cool.
Yeah, that is like No, that's just awesome, man. I don't know. There's just something so cool about the thought of these like frog droids just shooting out fire to burn things down. Like, I'm sorry, but that just looks so badass to me.
Yeah, I'm looking at they look like the shape, except they have something in the back that looks more like a
A fuel tank,
fuel tank,
presumably.
right?
Yeah,
And then
for the flamethrowers.
yeah, and then
Also, we got more arson spring.
yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, Arson Spring makes a return, but that's a little. Yeah, like we'll eventually get that. And well, technically, this is the first. Well, assuming Shut-in is non-canon. This is our first instance.
It's canon in our hearts.
Yes.
I mean, Arson Sprig is a non-canon part of a non-canon episode, so like, it's doubly non-canon, which I guess might like make it loop back around to canon again.
There is nothing in that segment that is not compatible with canon.
True.
Unlike the ending of the episode itself.
Oh, even before that, I like how when Sprig when Sprig uses his tongue, he always makes that like bleh noise and
Bleh.
yeah, just to just to destroy the tracker and then yeah. So we haven't got an official name for these Frobos. Like I'm just calling them incinerator Frobos. They just burn up the town, and of course TJ Hill's music again with that choir.
So good.
It goes so hard.
Yeah, like
honestly, the whole shot of them fleeing and looking back is shockingly well animated.
And one thing I do want to say, just the backgrounds in season and 3B. Obviously, this is like a misty valley, but they've just been a little bit darker. The sky's been a little bit yellower. You know, you can clearly tell this isn't the same old Amphibia.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's Amphibia, but it's clearly suffering for, you know, all of the invasion stuff going on.
yeah, I like how Hop Hop I like how Anne immediately can read Hop Hop's look, and it's not like subtle or anything, but I like the planners being the heroes that they are. Go back, and it reminds me of a Ballad of
Ballad?
Hoppet Planner, and I swear we had another episode where like the planners leave the town, like leave a town in flames, or
That sounds like something the planners would do, but I'm trying to remember.
they did it twice. Okay, yeah, they technically did it in Ballad of Hoppet Planner, where they left Biddyburg while it was like up in flames, but at least the biddies like were fighting back.
Yeah.
But yeah, the planners go back to save Garnington and yeah, Arson Sprig. We get that nice shot. Like it was probably Inbal Bretta who boarded just that scene of like Anne swiping the sword, like Anne slicing.
Oh yeah, dude, that looks so cool.
Slicing that Frobot's arm off, and it was so clean.
God, it looks so good.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool moments like that just makes me cross my fingers tightly for her to get the blue sword back. You know, not to make that a whole discussion, but yeah, I don't know. That just looks. I'm just rewatching that scene. That just looks so badass.
Oh yeah, these are great shots.
Yeah, the whole
seen it in
the whole fight scene of this finale of this episode is just fantastic.
Yeah, I just want to. What was with I just want to say that, like, what was with them immediately groaning after like disassembling the front box?
yeah, like that was
Like,
that was
that
so
sounds
weird for
so
me when I
weird.
saw it the first time. It's like basically like those like townsfolk, they like Yeah, they just made like the weird noise every time, but I guess it was supposed to show they're like just one unit.
Yeah, it's like a zombie noise. It's a
Yeah.
bit weird though.
No, rewatching this whole sequence, I mean, this just looks great. Like, I honestly cannot wait for things to get even more get even more crazy and scales we get to all in. I mean, if this is what if this is what you can call like a sort of like temperamental episode compared to that, then yeah, I'm just really excited to see what they can do when they go all out with it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think end of the day, this is not a super like plot centric episode, and they still put in the time.
They
Yeah.
did. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and then the battle ends. Like Hop Hop and Gary like compliment each other's like units, like how by basically being a hive mind, they had excellent coordination, which makes sense.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then Apothecary wants to kill them. Like he literally says like this is the part where we kill. Wait, I'm just replaying this
That
now.
was so funny. Just we're still gonna kill you.
Yeah, and he's like he kind of like stutters a bit too. Like he's like,
Yeah. I mean, it was nice fighting, but
yeah, and then Hop Hop gives that like speech about like how he found someone with the same hobbies as him.
which I mean, I guess technically they do have the hobby of gardening and taking over people's minds.
They should start a club with the core.
Yeah,
You know, a little club.
the old people taking over people's minds club.
Yeah, and this is when we get the that scene where like the speaker of the town like talks to Gary too. And we kind of see like Gary doesn't have like complete mindless control over these people. Like they have their own.
Like the guy was talking and had his weird Scandinavian accent and everything, which I could be a fake. I'll admit, but I don't think it is.
No, I think it's genuine. Like
I just
like
a little fast to re-accept Gary as I get they're desperate, but
well, I mean, if Hop Hop didn't negotiate, then they probably would have been dead. But
fair,
Kinda like-
fair.
So I think there is the I guess we're getting a bit into like the weeds here, but if the townsfolk really did all like consent to the hive mind, technically there's nothing wrong with it. Like I don't like it. I don't like
Everyone
it.
was okay with it.
I think
How many people are there? Like, have you ever tried to get like even 10 people to?
I
guess
think
the
the only
thing
thing questionable.
They
for me
already
is, like,
seemed like a weird plant cult. Like they were
Jeremy's-
already.
Yeah, it feels like Jeremy. He hasn't. Okay, I think for me, my only thing where I'm kind of like, yeah, that's like, I mean, are there children there? Like, did he
yeah,
just possess these
all
kids?
the polywogs
But then, like-
were possessed too.
Yeah,
so there's that. Then
it's
I'm also thinking like, I guess Jeremy, he's sort of neutral with the town. Like he hasn't made their lives worse. Instead, he's actually made them well. Kind of.
he's
It's okay to say-
Gary
he's made
has,
them-
but there's
The ethical
I don't know.
implications of the
it's
hive
so
mind.
weird. I guess the big problem with it is that even if he isn't like taking away their individuality, he could if he wanted to, and that's intrinsically kind of a problem.
But yeah, like that aside, like the apothecary agrees to like join the rebellion since they point out that now basically their location has been revealed at least to Andrias or his army, and eventually, like they won't be safe forever here. And then kind of Jeremy, even not Jeremy, Apothecary, like he just brings up that how he had no idea what was going on outside of their town, and they join up with the rebellion. Everyone's in Sprig and Polly are surprised, and
Yeah.
I think
I will say, I like how this season is putting isolationism on blast.
right, they did the same thing with Proteus as well.
Exactly.
And Beatrix,
Like-
although if you wanted to take over, but you have to come together to fight the greater enemy.
Yeah, like you can't just hide away from the problems of the world and let someone else fix them for you.
Which,
Like, well, that's-
Anne is starting to realize.
Yeah, and then like Anne like shows Apothecary the like the mind controlled animals, and that's when we find out that like Apothecary wasn't like the source of the enzymes controlling those animals. So
which was so surprising.
yeah, because I thought
Yeah,
that'd be the like connective
Yeah,
tissue between this and the main narrative, but yeah,
Which
I
is never
thought-
going to.
I thought that like Andrias was giving Gardenton protection in exchange for providing the spores or
Right.
something.
Yeah, honestly, I was thinking that too. Like somehow, like either Apothecary like allied himself with Andrews, or he was just like pretty much captured and just fed off of like. So yeah, it's. Honestly, I'm just really. I don't know. I didn't expect them to actually try and lead to somewhere with these collars, but they actually are. So like.
So
Did
and they drew attention to it too, is the thing. Like if it was just like oh no, that wasn't me, then one thing. But they drew attention to the near certainty that there is another whatever Gary
Apothecary
is. Yeah, there's another one of him out there, which is not a subplot I was expecting for this.
Yeah. So now we're going to get an emotional family reunion between Gary and
someone
other
else.
mushroom.
Like
who's ever out there. I mean, it just.
Anne
It
thought
just
it would
made,
be like
like,
a Apothecary she or something.
Yeah.
And I love how like Apothecary immediately shuts that down, and then Anne just like is super uncomfortable about it.
And is a shipper to the end.
Yeah.
She completely embarrassed herself.
That was
scene
so funny.
Yeah. I'm excited next week for some more Anne, because we didn't really get much of her this week. Or even, what was last week again?
Yeah, I think it was like Mother of Ohms and not. Yeah, Mother of Ohms and Grounds People.
Yeah,
those really
neither
just-
of which were super Anne focused. So I'm glad next week, hopefully, we'll be getting some nice Anne drama.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Anne is like is. It's weird. Anne has not been getting a huge focus these last few episodes, but I'm kind of okay. I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, like I like how season 3A was so heavily focused on Anne and her leadership. Like I'm getting a little bit off topic, but just to wrap it up, 3A had her like doing a lot, had a very big leadership role, and then Commander Anne was her basically saying like, "I'm not equipped for this scenario," and she's in the support role until she needs to become like the ace for the resistance.
Well, I really like seeing Anne become kind of more comfortable in this in the rebellion, like in this situation.
I mean, yeah, I want to say I feel like that's part of the point, right? Like because I know with 3A, she was like trying to desperately lead them out of Earth, right? Like just trying to take care of everything. It was just way too much responsibility for her, right? And then the whole point of her was to learn, like, was to remember that like she can trust people and count on them, right? And then then we have all these segments in 3B that just focus on everyone else pulling their own way through rebellion. Like that's just honestly the more thing about it, this is really cool to see. Yeah,
it's a
That's just some solid
continuation
stuff.
of the theme from Escape.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, And that, I guess, this is a bit of a jump, but I guess that's sort of my main problem with the episode is it doesn't really have the emotional core or like thematic stuff I really like from some of the other standalone episodes. It
Yeah,
just
I
it doesn't quite have the heart I look for in a good like non-plot heavy episode.
yeah, I understand that criticism because like even Mother of Olms was very like it tied back to Hop Hop's character in a very like satisfying way.
It did.
And in this segment it doesn't really have that for any of the characters. Like
I
even
think this segment is in like a weird halfway point between plot centric and standard episodic Amphibia fare. It's like it has the same structure as like, you know, a character driven episodic adventure. But
it doesn't have the payoff.
it really is kind of, now that I think about it, much more plot centric than I thought.
Especially with the beginning and then the end. I think the
Yeah.
middle. I think
Those
the
are the
middle
two.
had the most of like the character stuff with Hop Hop, and then him like confronting Jeremy Apothecary again.
Yeah,
but then it kind of shifts back to like the narrative instead of like the character.
Yeah, and it's just that like, did Hop Hop undergo like an arc? Did he like have a realization from this? Not really.
Not really, and it's just that Hop Hop
And
once again being the every time Hop Hop goes on a mission, he fundamentally changes like the playing field of this war.
yeah,
But look, Hop Hop is a leader of the rebellion for a reason.
he was an inspiration.
He was.
This is the second town he's inspired to rise up.
I guess it kind of is.
The third town, actually. Wartwood, Iddyburg, and then now this one. But, I think we can move on. I think we should move on to the Corn the King now, just so we...
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. We can focus on the real meat now that we're finished with the appetizer.
Yeah.
Wait, whoa, no. This isn't an appetizer. This was a meal, and now
I'm sorry,
that's
but
fair.
the guests are rebelling against the host here.
Now this is a full course meal right now. Now we're just overstuffing ourselves at this point.
Like I said at the beginning, I really did like this episode.
Yeah, my opinion of this episode rose greatly after this whole talk. I'm really enjoying. I really enjoyed it now.
Yeah.
the guests rebelling against the host. What a hilarious idea. Uzbeks.
we have no power here.
But yeah, this is a good time to go into The Corn the King, which was directed by Roxanne Cole, written by Todd McClintock, storyboards by Alicia Rocha and Danny Ducker. Holy shit, this segment.
This segment. Alright, I'm glad someone said it because this segment was something else.
Like,
It,
so this, okay, like, I don't even, okay, so the segment basically we had Anderson Darcy talking and the Darcy bullying Andrias. Then we get the flashback, and that's the whole. This was everything that's been implied to us for 2 years, and we got to see it. It happens. It's emotional. It's like and and then
it is just,
we get the flashback.
yeah.
It cuts back to the Darcy bullying, and then the credits. Like just all this. like this is a top 10 segment. Like,
Oh,
and
this is top 5.
top 5
This
even.
is-
Like,
Certainly, if you're gonna limit it to the 11 minutes, it is one of the best, if not the best.
I mean, I think it holds its own among the 22s.
Yeah.
so I guess starting with Nick, what are your very general thoughts on the Corn the King?
I mean, there's. I guess I'll just split into two sides because I think I'm gonna be honest. I think my main interest for going into this episode wasn't really like everything we get from the flashback, but really just Darcy. Because I've been like very interested in how they handle Darcy, and like, yeah, I'm very, very pleased on that side of things. And then, yeah, I also love Andrias, so I wanted that other side of it. And yeah, the flashback itself was, I think it was like very fast, but I will say like that did serve a lot of its moments because it's pretty much exactly what it needed, right? Like this whole sporadic breakup in this group. But yeah, I mean, all around, just I don't know where I feel like I have my feelings haven't totally settled in this episode, so I have no clue where I'd put it. Like if I ever had to rank these episodes, but I mean, I will say I really did love it.
All right, thank you, Nick. Uzbeks, what are your thoughts on this segment?
Oh, it was great. Like I said, one of the best it's done. Just, I know I've said before that plot episodes in Amphibia tend to get the emotion squeezed out of them. That was not the case here. Yes, the insight it gives both to Darcy and to Andrias, and the lore that still leaves us with questions, but still answers what we did questions we already had. Just a great episode, all around. Amazing.
All right, thank you, Uzbeks. PC, what are your thoughts on the Corn the King?
I mean, what hasn't been said already? This episode, I think this episode just demonstrates how well Amphibia uses its 11-minute runtime by only giving us just enough and leaving us wanting more.
All right, thank you, PC.
Like, just like I've already said, top 5, absolutely fantastic. Plus, and you saw what I was writing in the chat earlier. This fulfilled a lot of feelings I've been having about the thematic way this show has been set up.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, I guess to start off, we can start off with like the very first scene, I guess, of the Corn the King, where Darcy is pretty much just experimenting with the phone, and Andrias doesn't know how to approach the core, basically, and how to what to even call them. And it's like you can see, I just love the dynamic now where Andrias just feels so small again.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really insightful, and for reasons that we'll get to in a bit, that Andrias doesn't know if the people who are in the core are like there or not.
Or like even if Marcy is now part of the core, or if she's like, as we learned here, still separate.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to say like that, that small line of Andrews fumbling with like a correct name for Darcy was. I feel like that was the crew channeling their experience into coming up with a proper name for like Darcy right into the show, because it's like. I guess that is a bit silly to call them Dark Marcy, but it's like, what else can they call them? Like, yeah. There's Cord Marcy. That is Cord Marcy. Cord like all
Marcor.
It's like
Marcor.
So it's like
And I
Yeah,
They pretty much
that
got one choice.
felt like something that happened in the writers' room.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, I
and
just love that.
and just the subtle, like, it's been several weeks at least since like Marcy got possessed, and the fact that Andrews still hasn't figured this out just shows the distance that the core has with him, especially compared to what he had with Marcy, who was like, hanging around.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I love that because it just feels like, yeah, I mean, just from the start of this episode, like, I will say, like, it just does feel like, I don't, like, this isn't Marcy, obviously, but, like, it does feel like the relationship is sort of flipped around in a way, right? Like,
Oh,
yeah, it just,
absolutely.
yeah. It's just, I don't know, just a really great opening to the episode. I mean, I will say, like, I just love the idea of the core just trying out a bunch of new things and loving it, all because it's been pretty much stuck in a basement for thousands of years with nothing to do, right?
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
just
yeah.
the way it
I am
tears apart
so
Marcy's phone just to like explore human technology.
I am so glad the core is not just like a super boring evil monster. As much as I love evil, like crazy inhuman monsters, those are super fun. But God, I love what they did with the core so
Yeah.
much.
We already
Like, it
have
just,
sort of
it just
the
makes so much
overly
sense.
somber with Andreas. And I think I'm not sure, but just like the way the personality, not like she said, it's just quirks, but it's not just like her tastes or like her clumsiness. Like it's actual personality that is leaking through.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
And
I think there's more of Marcy in the core than the core is willing to admit.
the
Yeah.
core is willing to admit, like, yeah, maybe her conscious self is all locked away, but I think some of her subconscious actions and behaviors are leaking through.
And
I
this,
just love the fact that the core. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
oh, I was going to bring up how like even this like whole device was like considered like experimental. So even the core probably didn't know all of the.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I just feel like that makes so much sense. It's like, just from this, we can tell, yeah, the core has been desperate just to be able to feel something, man. Right?
oh
Like,
man,
they're losing their mind eating cupcakes. Like,
yeah,
they,
losing the mind,
they've been,
eating cupcakes.
yeah, they've been dying just to experience something for the longest time. And I feel like that's.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
like
anything new.
Yeah. Right.
even when they fall over, they're like so excited to like calibrate the body. It's just like whoop. And the one thing I do want to say about sort of the personality leaking through is that like the core is like a lot of minds meshed together, and like they've all sort of been moved into this sort of giant soup. But then Marcy, who's still separate, is like still has a personality instead of just having been a centuries old king who's been meshed with other centuries old kings. And so Marcy still has a strength of personality, like an independent will that the core itself lacked because it's just, um, almost too many cooks in the core for it to have anything other than this like vague plans
Yeah,
for conquest.
it has no real individuality.
Yes. It says us instead of I. Uh, yeah, it lacks. I mean, we saw when it wasn't in a host, when it was in the crown or the giant warp thing, it couldn't even really speak. It just sort of vaguely whispered into the minds of kin.
Also, I just want to say, dude, I just love how expressive Darcy is. Like,
Yeah,
man, like Marcy, they're literally missing like pretty much most of their face because of the helmet. But dude,
the eyes.
yeah, the eyes. So yeah, the eyes just carry so much weight of their expressions. Like, I just love it. Then the smug faces they keep making. Like, dude, it's amazing.
It's such an uncanny valley between like legitimately being Marcy, but like so obviously not being Marcy.
Yeah, I think Uncanny Valley is a great way to put it. That's a lot of what makes Darcy just so much fun.
Yeah, like they have like Marcy's cuteness to it, but then also just like the cores, like even though it's all mixed in perfect. It's just I don't know, like they, for me, I guess they keep bouncing in between being like endearing and just awful. Like it's just so good.
I
Yeah.
do wonder if Marcy sort of works and personality now became critical. How much of the core like active cruelty towards Andrias? Because the court doesn't really seem to have that much in the way of emotions. It just wants to conquer. How much of the active cruelty is Marcy's unaddressed resentment of Andrias pouring through, and how much of it is sort of the disappointment of the core towards Andrias?
I mean, I think that the core might have emotions in it that
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Especially
it's,
with
I don't think the core is fully emotional. I think it likes to pretend that it's above emotion.
Yeah,
I don't think it is.
I think it's lost sort of complex emotions, but it
It's
still has
lost
sort of
empathy. It's
it's lost
lost
empathy. It's lost, and for all that, it's sort of this mechanical rising above death. All that's left is sort of like primal anger, primal desire to conquer, sort of
primal being hungry for cupcakes. It's very
Yes,
base
yes.
instincts.
Like they eat it with their mouths open.
Yep.
Oh well, I just don't think they shoved the whole cupcake in the wrapper into their mouth. But,
Like Bill Cipher in sock opera energy. A lot of that in this.
Yeah. Dude, I can't wait. I just feel like I cannot wait for them to put on their cape. Like they already look cool enough, but like with the cape,
Oh,
oh my god, they're gonna look even cooler.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Quickly,
I cannot wait to see. I cannot wait to see the core justify having a cape.
Yeah,
because of Marcy.
Like, no, Andrias, this is very important. I need to have a cape.
What do you know? You lost the box. I did.
Yeah. So anyway, it needs to be
I can't
really
wait to
cool.
see the interaction.
That's good.
On the subject of Marcy's emotions, do we want to talk about theories about like the mind room that it mentioned?
No, not yet.
The
Because
little room.
We gotta get through the actual episode first.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. But we're talking about that little
host.
room.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just saying it would work a lot better when we have a screenshot to work off of. Which is not in this episode.
Fine.
But
hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically. And then so Darcy, walks out of the room and
avoids tangling the cord.
Pardon?
Oh, I'm just saying they walk around so much you'd think the cord would have like run out of space or like gotten into a knot somewhere.
It's an extremely long cord.
Yeah.
And never gets tangled. It's really a miracle of amphibian engineering.
Maybe it's just like on a giant like spool that automatically rolls and unrolls depending on where Darcy is. Just with enough slack.
Yeah.
But Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Like I bet it's I don't know, man. It's just when they're walking through the hallway and just talking to each other. Like I know it's Marcy's voice, but I know it's Marcy's voice, and it's obviously going to make the scene feel like what I'm about to say. But I don't know. It's supposed to be the core, but my god, like it just feels so much like Marcy. Like it just
Okay.
Like,
can we talk about Haley's voice acting for the core?
Yes. I want to say I was worried when I first heard that there was sort of like a mechanical underpinning. I was worried that was going to like overshadow the performance, but like those doubts are completely gone. She did a great job.
Oh my
so
god!
Much fun, so great.
Like the way that she said, like how nice it is to finally have a body. Oh, that was so like
the division,
gross.
Like the way she talks about Marcy as Marcy, but not being Marcy. Oh, chips.
So good.
Like I scan Marcy's memories like she's not even like it's just a body that happens to have some memories lying around.
And then when they're walking down the hallway, Darcy mentions that they need to optimize some memory, and I like how Darcy kind of points out, like, oh, Andrews, you're the only one we can trust to do this, and that's when we see Andrews is just like lost in his own head as he's like looking at the photo. And like Darcy like immediately knows what's up and just bullies him about it, and
So glad that Darcy's bullying Andrias.
Yeah. You love to see it. I mean, it just feels so. I mean, I guess this is part. I guess this is just because Haley did such a good job. But like, I don't know. It just feels like Marcy bullying Andreas. Like, I'm not thinking of like, the core bullying Andreas, but just Marcy. Like, I don't know. She just did an amazing job this episode.
and then just when I love the way the flashback starts, where it's like Andrews just says like, the past means nothing to me, and then we get to the photo and it just like flickers back into the golden age, and that
I really just the animation in the flashback being all in sort of that tones flashback color.
Kind of the sepia
It's such
flashback.
a cool effect. And like you even see like it's not quite like the full film strip effect, but you see sort of the imperfections that you get with a flashback.
Film grain. They added film
Right.
grain to it.
Yeah.
yeah that film grain, they keep it at the very beginning and then they just like phase it out once young Andreas starts walking.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm
But
looking
it
at
never
oh, go ahead, Uzbeks.
just the lighting differences between the golden age and the current era are very striking and very good.
Right, and there's a couple of codes in the background, and it looks like it's Newtopia, but then you have all these like holographic screens that we saw in True Colors, and just it's a blend of this like medieval era, but with LEDs, I guess. But I'm looking. There's some Newtopian
Holograms.
Yeah, holograms. There's some Newtopian written on the signs, but there's one that just says like "Conquer worlds, secure our future," and
God, that's so good.
it's like that cheery kind of propaganda. And
It's very it's very Starship Troopers.
oh yeah, and
And I think it's because I thought, like, when we were like learning about all this first, I thought that the world conquering was like the dark secret of Newtopia.
it's an open secret. Not open secret. It's just an
open secret. It's like it's like
it's a way of life.
Yeah.
It's a way of life. I mean, and it's not just one of the things that struck me here is that Newtopia is still, Newtopia. Lots of newts. They seem to be in control. But the frogs and toads are, hanging around doing it too. I mean, Andrias' friends are not the least bit concerned that he's going to conquer.
Right, and we'll and before that we get our first like encounter between Andrias and his friend Beryl. Like Beryl is one of the guards of the gate, and we get that for us it's their first it's our first encounter with them, but of course this is their this is just like every other day. And I'm looking. I just had to pull up the voice cast. I know we'll get into the third member later, but Zeno Robinson, as like young King Andrias, is just
he deepens his voice just enough that it sounds like Andrias, but like you can also tell it's still young.
Yes, and even the mannerisms, like voicing a young Keith David is like not. Like
it's not easy, right?
Yeah, it's not easy yet. Like Zeno Robinson did here. Like
Zeno really managed to capture his mannerisms, which is something that it is always great to see to see voice actors doing.
The sort of troublemaker aspects of Andrias' personality, which have always been around, but are like more clear here. Like he captures that great.
And then we get, yeah, like, he grabs Beryl into, like, a wrestle, and that's when we hear Jason Ritter as Beryl, and
Jason Ritter as Beryl. I love Beryl. I love the
Yes.
voice. I love
I think-
everything about him.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more. I do have a couple of, not even quibbles, just thoughts on his character, but just like, the immediate casualness with which he treats the prince, and just like the fun stuff they have. And I wonder, because he said, "Don't you know never to put a toad in a headlock?" And then Andrias gets his butt kicked. Obviously, that's not like a real fight. But I do wonder, is that going to come back with Grime or somebody? It's going to get stuck in a headlock. And oops, Andrias, forgot the lesson.
Hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Grime face off with Andrias. That would be really interesting, especially since he's going to be using Beryl's hammer.
Yeah. And I guess we'll talk about some of the world building later, but just that Beryl was a common guard with a common hammer.
The
And that's
Warhammer is just
over the
standard
years.
issue.
Standard issue, the guard next to him has it. And it's become this legendary artifact that rallies the toads behind them.
It's just,
And it wasn't even important to the royal family.
Nah,
yeah, I feel like it's just a really, really cool way to show just how much the royals regressed compared to this golden age. Like, I don't know, I didn't expect something like that, but I love it.
And I mean, it kind of explains why Andrias didn't react the way we thought he would to the Warhammer, because it's like, oh, they found one of the Royal Guard Warhammers.
He might not even know it's Beryl's. I mean,
He's like, why is it glowing pink? What's he must have found that weird?
I just had a thought. We'll get to it later about the pink glow.
yeah, and then Beryl gives Andrias the letter from Leif, and then that's when we find out, like, Andrias's little, like, pink glasses can actually, like, read the invisible messages from Leif.
God, the Leif Andrias shipping is going to be hardcore now.
Well, the shipping between all three of them is going to be hardcore.
Yeah,
for sure. For sure. I'm not complaining. I kind of love it.
Let's go.
Lemur's in chat, though. Lemur's in chat, so let's not.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's fine. Like, this is the final. We're seeing their story in the final days. Just it's all. At the end of the day, it's all. We know how it ends.
We're seeing how it ends.
Yeah, like.
Yep. And I mean, even you can tell there are strains even before this episode started. That there are some strains on the friendship.
And then we get introduced to Leif in the most like Amphibia way like possible, where she does the planner dance from Ann Hunter, and just I like how that
slightly modified.
Like
Ann Hunter's relevant now.
It was always relevant.
You can't shit talk that episode anymore. Like it's relevant. Oh come on! Like they've been messing with us, right? Like it's been super obvious what's going on. This is like the biggest slap in the face. Yeah, I mean, come on, just reveal already. Like I've been waiting for too damn long.
Yeah, they just have to.
And I like how this is the indisputable proof that Leif is a planter.
This is a planter. Yeah.
We can stop calling it a pink frog
or fruit.
Oh yeah, like, that was holy crap.
It's so weird to just have a name after this long.
People who come into the fandom who, like, you know, after it's done and after it's sort of well known that there's a character named Leif, are going to be so confused. Like, pink frog, they're like, Are you talking about Sprig? Why are you calling me Frug? It's going to be so confusing for future Amphibia fans.
Yeah, so Leif does her dance, and she disorients, she does the dance, and all the Mossmen are attracted to this, and even Beryl is like vibing
Beryl gets mesmerized by it.
by the
So
planet
there's your
dance.
Beryl/Leaf shipping.
Well, let's be honest here. This was also an Andrias/Leif shipping moment because he was blushing during the dance.
True.
And
There are many options.
And we finally get like a voice actor for Leif. She was voiced by Cassandra Lee Morris.
Did mostly anime and video games, but she did a great job.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said but, like I said but as if, like
Yeah,
as if like, oh, she just voiced anime and video games. I didn't mean it like that. She did a great job.
Yeah. And they all did. They all did. I mean, honestly, every voice actor did amazing work this episode. Like, it was great game straight up.
And okay, remember how? So like, young Andrews gives a thumbs up, but remember in the planners check-in, like Andrews treated the thumbs up like it was some sort of Earth thing.
Well, I think
Playing the
he was
long con
probably just,
Messing with the girls.
I think he was just making it seem like he was an oblivious,
Right.
old king who didn't know anything. The thing that appeared that made him really freak out was the fist bump.
Man, like, is there like that? I don't know. like if that was all a trick just to get them, like, I mean, it was. I mean, kind of was a trick to get them on his side and make them like him.
I mean,
damn it, did he trick me? Did he get me?
I mean, I think it's pretty similar to the time when Marcy discovered this secret wing of the of the library.
Yeah.
Right. And then
like Andrias is good at making people feel like they're learning something. Like, Andrias is good at manipulation.
Yeah.
The apple does not fall far from the tree.
Right. And then at the same time we get, like, this is the moment where Andrews shows the picture to Beryl and Leif, and I like how when he pulls out the poster, he does, like, the portrait, he does the same, like, ta-da voice line, and Zeno Robinson, like, nails it the same way as Keith David, and so good. And
yeah, he absolutely does.
I'm just watching the whole scene. They did such a good job portraying this friendship. Like, we only have like so much time with them that they can spare to us. But yeah, like, right off the bat, they really do a great job of just showing the deep bond between them. Like the nickname.
God.
Like, the nickname was such a good touch. Like calling him Trance instead of, yeah, that's just, yeah.
The scene where he says, "I got picked to lead the next invasion," and his friends are like, "Oh yeah, score." That blew my mind. That blew my mind.
Like, I kind of expected it because I was thinking to myself, like, this was their legacy, right? Like, there's like a long chain of these conquerors, right? So they would totally know about it, right? Like, they would totally be in on it, right? So, like, would that be really what splits them up? And like,
but like, I mean, but it's like it's the same reaction to like hearing that. Oh yeah, my dad's buying me a car for my 16th birthday.
Yeah.
which is like a joke that I made like
I remember it
months, and it's like, but that's how they actually treat it.
Good. I just love this show that we're doing that. Like, they don't. Oh man, that's just.
It does such a great job showing how profoundly baked into their culture this cycle of invasion is.
Yeah, because they totally could have pretended like they used to be like paragons of justice that they want to be in on it, but like this is like the world they grew up in, pretty much. Like this was treated as like the norm, right? And they never really had a reason to question it, right? So like,
I mean, yeah, it's imperialism.
Yeah.
It's just straight up imperialism.
It's imperialism. It's, the way that sort of imperial adventures abroad can lead to like decay at home. Like, even if at home you're all like moral and whatever, if you're running an empire, that will come back. It's just degrading morally.
Amphibia really said there is no ethical consumption under capitalism.
True.
That's why we love it.
And I mean, yeah, like as much as we love Leif and Beryl, they benefited from this like everyone else did.
And they none of their actions are driven by concern for humans or the Mossmen or the Shadowfish or any other conquered worlds. None of the. There is never the conclusion that invasion is wrong because it's an invasion.
No, it's just because Pete, Yeah, you're 100% right.
You're gonna bring up your sorry.
Well, I just want to say, I don't know. I know it's like kind of. I guess it's kind of messed up, but like I just kind of love that they did that, right? Like they.
No, it's so.
Like
I'm not complaining. It's so good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you again, Nick. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. No, I don't know how excited you are though. I love that. I love that energy. But like, I just want to say, like, I just love the fact that it also gives modern day Amphibia a chance to be better. Like, this isn't just an episode for us to base off like what we can say about the modern trio, but also just a way for us to see what modern day Amphibia can do better itself. Because even Leif and Beryl here, they tried to do the right thing that day. Like you can say they're still very questionable, right? And it's just, I don't know, I just love that. I love the fact the show went that route instead of just trying to make them these noble three who are just against the society today. Like they went for something that, like, it's dark, it's messed up, but I guess it's real.
It's so real. It's so grounded.
And I think I sort of never really thought about the fact that the Frobos are like the army that they use. That's just sort of been who his minions are. But like that creates a scenario where they are removed from the violence. Like no one is actually being hurt by the invasions. No one has to deal with the fact that they're killing people. Because it's all being done by robots.
To get a little bit too close to home, that's literally why the U.S. military has shifted to unmanned drones so hard. If you don't have bodies coming home in bags, it's a lot easier to get people to be okay with war.
It's a lot easier. It's when you don't have as many, troops there. People aren't losing family members. And even people aren't coming home having been disillusioned by war. You don't get Vietnam veterans against the war if there are no veterans.
Yep. And
so it's a great little bit of
so
I will do my darndest to avoid making this too political.
No. I thought I was hoping we'd make that point a little later when they had that discussion. But yeah, no.
Listen, you guys are making me love this episode even more than I already did.
The trio are celebrating about their portrait. And they
celebrating about the cool portrait,
and then they celebrate by running through the halls, shouting, and that's when we bump into. Well, that's when King Aldrich shows up. Andrias' father, voiced by William Houston.
Yes.
And
oh God, he's so creepy. Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, we've been bringing it up again and again in the server that this is his first role in an animated series. But it just sounds like he's been voicing evil, corruptive mentor types for his entire life.
Oh, he's great at it. And I know I brought this up, but He is the voice of King Vendrick in Dark Souls 2.
And yeah, that was
Those words mean nothing to me, but cool.
King Vendrick was stated by Matt during an interview to be a direct inspiration for Andrias.
Yeah, so it's just really awesome how it goes full circle. But Jesus, I mean, yeah, well, all William Houston, like he was amazing. I think he. I don't want to name any favorites, but like I will just say, like, yeah, he's definitely one of my favorites this episode. Like he was just amazing.
Yeah, and then we get that, like, Beryl and Leif go off, and Andrews has to do his prince duties, and we get that trailer line of don't you think it's time to say goodbye to your childhood friends of yours? And like, that just does so much to at least like show us that we know Beryl's the one of the guards, Leif's the gardener for the castle, so we know now like that these three have been kind of been they've been in each other's lives, and because of like the castle duties for like most of their lives. And
yeah, they've been friends since forever.
And especially like they can just casually, they have no problem like being rowdy in the halls and just running like.
I mean, Beryl flat out fights with the crown prince, which that can get you killed in medieval society.
He just did it because he thought it was funny.
Yep. And I mean, I do like that they're sort of immature. Like, I mean, Leif, like, has that sort of classic planter impulsiveness.
And I will note that this appears to be the beginning of... I mean, there is a strong parallel between the way Leif communicates with Andrias and the little puzzles that that Andrias used with Marcy.
I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, you kept the glasses. So much good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get that talk between Aldrich and Andrias, and then Aldrich pretty much is just telling him. And he's trying to get into Andrias' head even here, talking about how like Beryl and Leif aren't going to. They're just going to use him, manipulate him, and they won't last forever. And
yeah. Because you can see where those toxic ideas just started to be planted into his mind, right? Like, it came from his father. Like,
and I mean, I guess on some level, like, to be fair, he is genetically engineered to live for thousands of years. So, like, yeah, it's not going to last forever. But just because their friendship won't like last forever doesn't make the friendship not valuable.
Yeah.
Which is like the whole point, I feel.
Yeah. Because I mean, he's not like completely wrong, but it's like he's focusing on like the wrong things, right? Like, he's not focusing on like the real. Yeah, he's not focusing on like the real importance of friendship, like the real reason why you try to make like relationships you can invest in. I mean, he's just.
And like you can see that in Andrias' relationship with Marcy. He builds this friendship up. And then uses, the ending of friendships to, like, ask her for something big and important.
Yeah. And I will say, this episode kind of convinced me that his friendship with Marcy wasn't entirely fake.
Oh yeah, it was the first... She is probably the closest thing to Leif and Beryl he interacted with since then. Because the rest of the castle is all going to be officials like Olivia and stuff. She's the first, like, actual, like, person who would remind him of them.
Well, and also just, this is the first... Marcy was probably the first time he let himself become vulnerable.
Even as a tactic.
Since all this happened.
It's been like a thousand years, and then he finally made a genuine connection again with someone. It was just, That's just like how I view the sort of importance of Marcy and like his, I don't know what to call it, like his arc, his character. I don't know, but like, yeah.
And it's interesting that he never thought that he'd lose her to the core of all things.
That is true. If what he said in Libyan Union is right, yeah.
Kings are upload. As far as we can tell, the core has no plans for a host here. No drive. That seems to have come later. So, like, as far as he knew, maybe Marcy really would be up for adventures all around the multiverse, just, conquering stuff.
Yeah. And then...
Or at the very least, it's still unclear to me when the core was like, hey, Andrias, your human friend? We're possessing her. Like, was that before or after the stab? Like, when did he...
It's hard to tell.
I feel like he's just so needlessly cruel to her in True Colors that almost feels like he's trying to push it away. So maybe before that, but after Utopia, like the original Utopia arc?
Maybe First Temple?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, because that's always a thing again. I do feel like it's somewhere in between like A Day at the Aquarium and before the first one when they finally, when they first really become friends. Like more than just like her sort of, I don't know, like squire or something. Like it's somewhere right there where I feel like where they really just get on the same level, just become truly good friends. Like it's when Marge is supposed to hard out to him, and yeah, because he can relate. Like he could relate greatly to what she was experiencing in that point. So it's just like that's when I feel like the friendship's really forged.
Yeah. Another good thought that's going to come at the end.
And yeah, so we get to the room. We get to the core room. Aldrich introduces the core to Andrias, and you can kind of see how fast all of this is going for Andrias, where he learns about the core, he learns he's invading Earth, he learns how he's exterminating all life on Earth, and because there's that disconnect between like the actual invasion and what comes home, like Andrias is immediately like skeptical, like rightfully skeptical about like doing this, but then
And like
in that moment you have Aldrich immediately like passing down everything to Andrias, like here's the core that'll help you, here's the key to the music box, like here's like everything you need, just go. And then like it's giving
Aldrich
Andrias
was ready to get in that core.
yeah, he was ready. I think he views it as like a greater honor than being king. Like
He absolutely
being good enough to join the core is clearly an honor. And I do wonder how much of it like it was originally like Amphibia's greatest minds, like that's what it actually was. And if it became like a vanity project for the royal family, like, oh, I'm done uploading myself to the core so I live forever, rather than actually like looking for geniuses to add to its knowledge.
And I wouldn't be surprised. Like I would love that. Like if that's true, I would love that.
Yeah.
and then
Crap. Like literally having the weight of all of his ancestors staring down on him. Like, such a good.
yeah, it's a great shot.
Yeah. And honestly, it's the same kind of like creepy shot that we got in True Colors. Like, remember that? Like when Anne like sort of second guesses whether or not she wants to give the box to Andrias. Like just that small moment of him like taking up the entire screen. Like his hand reached out, like the big yellow eyes. Like it just reminds me of that, and I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's what I. Yeah, like that was like my first thought. Like when I just see this like large antagonist looming in like the background, and oh man, it's so good. And then, and like
I will say,
go
I will say, like this whole scene with like the setup of Andrea, if I had one qualm about this episode, is that it was this one scene was paced a little fast.
Right, when Andrews is like, "Oh, we shouldn't do this," and then Aldrich is just like, "Yeah, like this has to happen," and then.
Yeah.
But I think,
Yeah.
then I think what helps improve the scene is how Aldrich immediately gives the key to the music box just to kind of
Yeah.
propel Andrews forward.
Yeah, and I think it works to some extent because it's clear that Andrias was overwhelmed. So I think it works to some extent. But it was
and the fact that it all happened at once and it was like so present in his mind does come into play later, I think.
Right.
With his
That's really, yeah, and I just feel like Aldrich sort of, I mean, I don't know how, we don't really know like whether or not Aldrich is like, oh, he's probably a shitty dad, like he's a shitty dad, I guess, but like I just feel like he also sort of manipulated him a little bit. Like as soon as he saw like doubts forming in Andreas' mind, he quickly just gave him a little bit of fatherly love that Andreas probably misses a lot. Like he just says, "Now make me proud, son." Right? Like you can tell, like he's trying to subdue him. He's trying to get him to accept this huge honor.
Aldrich is so good at manipulating Andreas. The moment he sees doubt, he gives him the one thing that Andreas is desperate for.
Like it's not even just about like being able. It's just of the approval, right? Like the approval not just from Andreas, but like just that's not
everything.
Yeah, literally everything. Literally everyone. Like everything.
Yeah, then right after Aldrich gives Andrews the keys to the car, he immediately wants to take his friends out for a drive. And,
yeah, just wants to show off his cool thing.
And I like.
Yeah, and I do want to. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Uzbeks.
Just a couple of details about the room itself.
Yeah, I was about to get into that too. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Holy man, it looks snazzy as hell. Sorry,
it's snazzy as hell. Yeah, it is snazzy. It is snazzy. The door is a frog door.
Yeah.
And the portraits include what look to be a frog and a toad in addition to Aldrich's portrait. So all of that makes me... We've talked some about, maybe the music box wasn't the news in the first place, which it probably wasn't old and everything. But I can't help but wonder if this legacy was conquest was started before the Leviathans even came to power. If this is something that's, multiple dynasties have kept doing this.
Well, we still don't know the origins exactly of the music box.
Yes.
We know the origins of the core pretty well. That was the Leviathan family.
Yeah, it separates your ancestors from the greatest minds of Utopia. So I think they were obviously involved. But I do wonder when they became involved. And did this start as sort of a pan-amphibian project of conquest that moved towards the Newts having control? Or...
Yeah, that part is less clear, and I'm not sure if we'll ever get an answer to it.
Yeah. Maybe in Marcy's journal we'll get some backstory. Just, her geeking out about history and dynasties and stuff.
Yeah.
And since this is a separate room that has that same pedestal for the box, I'm guessing this has I'm guessing multiple sections of the castle would have this kind of pedestal plug where you can just put the box on and access it for different stuff.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. You have one in the throne room for ceremonies. You have one in a vault for just, protecting it.
I kind of thought we would get an idea of what that thing in the room was for, with the crabs and the newts around it. I thought it'd be some sort of device, but
honestly, it vaguely looks oval shaped. So I wonder if it's a personal portal.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of
I was about to say I think that's a portal.
It's completely unnecessary as we've seen, but royals have to do it in style.
And we know that they do portal to Earth because they know it's medieval. So clearly they open up small portals regularly before the invasion itself starts.
Yeah.
Like scouting parties.
Yeah. I do wonder if we'll see that like little personal portal show up in the
In a later episode, yeah, because it was so like
yeah.
just the addition of it.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't necessary.
It is a very specific detail that doesn't get used in this episode.
Good. I do, yeah. I suppose if to the point about visiting other worlds, if I have one sort of thematic complaint, is that like, yeah, we see sort of the casual effects of, imperialism on the people there. But we never really get to see like Utopia destroying everything. And sure, they say they're going to destroy Earth. But, well, actually, we do get the Mossmen chained up. That is striking. And
yeah, we see the Mossmen being enslaved. We see jars full of experimented on and dissected.
I'll walk that back somewhat. I wish we had seen sort of Utopia at war during the Golden Age, maybe just a scene. But yeah,
you wanted to see like the actual like process of invasion, and not just
I wanted to see a legion of Frobos descending on the Shadowfish or something.
Oh, don't worry. We'll see. Don't worry. We'll see a legion of Frobos descending on a world.
Yep.
Oh, you're right. Fair enough.
Oh, we're so close.
Yeah, and then
Fair enough.
yeah, so Andrias introduces like Leif and Beryl to this room, and they start. Leif grabs the box, and
Yeah, I like how childish it is. Like that is a nuclear weapon, and
God,
also the source of your civilization's power, and you're just like tossing it around.
and you could see Andrias is kind of freaking out about
It's
it.
such a stupid move. That is
We're
a spring once a lever move.
We are so lucky that there wasn't a lever on that pedestal.
Yes, we are. We are lucky she didn't accidentally open it, and they all get trapped on Earth and have to do like a reverse Amphibia adventure.
Man, imagine that AU though.
That actually is a very cool AU idea. I just spat out.
That's a good AU. That's a good AU. I'm gonna have to...
like, trying to track down fighting Vikings and trying to track each other down and find a way home.
Oh my god, reverse Amphibia.
Is it just called Earth?
And we can decide which powers they get.
Oh yes, we can have the gem powers be distributed how we think they should be.
Andrias' heart. Andrias' heart. Like it must be a hard thing.
Andrias' heart. Beryl is wit, even though he's not that smart in this episode. He has hidden depths. Leif is power.
I will say, if I was going to give them
yes
powers based on what we saw, Beryl would be strength, Leif would be wit, and Andrias would be heart.
Yeah, I could see Leif having heart. Just if he's the one to make. Leif would be wit, and Andrias would be heart. Yeah, I know. I'm sort of just thinking aloud about that, and I think you could make the case for. I think Beryl has to be strength.
I love Beryl. I love Beryl.
Not the brightest guy. He doesn't seem like not the brightest guy. Not the most emotionally aware of what's going on either. Yeah, my one quibble, which I can talk about a bit later, is that Beryl doesn't really do much. He doesn't have much agency.
I think that
sort of
plays into what his fate ends up being. But yeah, I understand because of time, like.
And we can talk we can talk. I keep saying that, but there's more to talk about later.
Right. And then like they're tossing the box, and then Leif probably like configures the box a certain way, and that's when we get
he touches all the stones
at once, and that's when we get the
which is
we get the
visions.
Yeah, we get the visions, and we see everything's in red. We get to see clips from Olivia and Yunnan, True Colors, all Mother of Olms, like all these things get revisited. We get a brief shot of like a pile of Frobos, and Utopia's like ceiling is like torn off.
Yeah,
we see the moon descending on Amphibia. We see Pink like witnessing all of this as the moon she sees the moon coming down on the It's crazy. Like,
It's insane. It is
Plus the
such a
music too.
cool
Yeah, holy shit.
sequence.
It is such a cool
Yeah.
sequence. The music is great. It's got sort of this clock ticking, impending doom sound to it.
it sounds like the
and it
music
makes me
box
wonder-
theme, but
Oh, I had noticed that. I'll have to re-listen. I will say, it made me wonder, like, can Anne get visions from her calamity powers?
I think she
Um,
does. I think we see her waking up from one of those visions in the teaser trailer.
Oh, you're right. And that makes me wonder, the Olms have mentioned their beliefs about the gems. Is that where they got the prophecy from? Some, maybe Mother Olm, like, was touching the stones and heard this prophecy, like, is that where it comes from?
Yeah, was the prophecy written when Leif brought the box to? Well,
no,
I'm gonna have myself.
It mentions,
Yeah.
because Aldrich mentions later that the Corps knows the Olms have a prophecy
Right.
about the box.
Oh yeah,
returning.
that's right. That's
That
right.
may not be the exact prophecy we hear, but it feels like it's a similar thing.
It might be close.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, is this a good time? This is probably the best time to talk about the moon colliding with Amphibia.
Yeah. Look, I would love to
Really
take credit for
stealing my
predicting this, but I did not expect this to happen.
Yeah, like this. Damn, like the stakes just got even crazier. I don't know. I never thought like
It
Like
kind of
Stakes. I had always. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, like, it kind of makes sense why the Corps and Andrias don't really give a shit about Amphibia anymore with the way they've torn Utopia apart. It's like they're sucking Amphibia dry and then getting out while they still can.
Well, I don't know if they're aware of the moonfall thing.
I think they're aware that like there's damage occurring, but like all they have is like, oh, Andrias' friend had a vision once.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I don't think they're aware of the moonfall. I've already said why I think they're draining Amphibia, which is because they need
Resources.
a big enough army to invade Earth, so they can just move there instead.
But I just think, like, it seems that they have a greater plan for Earth than just invading. Like, they want to do more than just like invade the planet. Like, I kind of thought they wanted to like establish like a new, just like a new Amphibia. But like, I guess this all depends on how much the Corps actually knows.
I guess it does depend on if the Corps knows about the moonfall or not. If it does, which it might, the moon sure looks like it's gotten big, so if it might already know.
And I feel like, I guess like even if it did, it probably wouldn't care that much, right? Because it's basically turned Amphibia into like a wasteland, right? Like this really.
Yeah.
As soon as it's done with getting all the resources it wants, there's probably going to be like nothing left over there.
The Corps does not care about Amphibia. It cares about continuing its legacy.
Yes. It cares about the Corps and its sort of power.
Yeah, it's all about expansion for expansion's sake.
Yes. And I do think the visions, there may be a bit of that old cruel prophecy twist where when you try to avoid the prophecy, you just make it come true, because we saw the painting of Andrias being a glorious conqueror. We saw Utopia rising again, like it did in True Colors. We saw the drills tearing Amphibia apart at the very beginning of the vision. We saw the mural from the old prophecy.
Yeah.
So all of those things have already happened. So the moon, it's coming. The castle is falling. It's all happening.
God, I'm so intrigued by that shot of the throne room with all the destroyed Frobos and the demolished building.
I wonder if that's before or after the moon falls.
Yeah, because I feel like that was
is that like
sort of blanket annual message. Like, didn't they make that one scene like appear faster than all the others? Like, sorry, it was like
it is like a handful of frames.
because that scene could be like a final scene where, like, after a long, hard battle, they finally defeated the evil, like, the throne room is destroyed, but Anne and Co stand triumphant. Or it could be like a sign that everything's terrible, it could be like the darkest hour. It could be either of those things.
I will note on the right hand side of the on the right hand side of that, there is some strange, like, kind of bubbled cylinder with a wire wrapped around it.
That looks like, I thought that was like a cloak bot, or
But I don't know any cloak bots that have bubbles on, like, their arms.
because like the end kind of looks like a pointed like laser or something that would be used,
Yeah.
like,
I don't know what that is, but it's not something that I recognize immediately. So this feels like an actual shot from a later episode.
Someone should go check, not right now, but, like, is that flying castle scene lifted directly from True Colors? Because it's gotta be, right?
yeah, I'm
I
pretty
believe
sure it
that
is.
scene is
Yeah, I think it
direct,
is.
and
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the drilling scene is lifted from
Olivia and Union.
Olivia and Union.
Olivia and Yunan. So I
Yes.
think everything we've seen is a shot lifted directly from the show, except for the destroyed throne room and the moon, which just haven't been shown yet.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the vision, and Pink is not Pink. Oh my god, Leaf.
I
That's
know.
gonna take some time
I
getting
know.
used to. Like, Leaf is like exhausted from this, and
Yes.
she kind of breaks down, like, and like Andrias and Beryl like have to like comfort her, even though like Andrias clearly doesn't really know how to react, and but at the very least, like, he's able to like give her an audience with Aldrich, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
she.
And, like, it's very interesting that sorry.
That's alright. That's right. Like, yeah, she gives her case, and I love that line. How she compares, like, the as a gardener, she compares like the ecosystem to, like, on a larger scale with the multiverse, and you see all the chatter where there's still that disconnect between like all the advisors in the room. Like, oh, what about the invasion? Like, they're so disconnected from
What
that.
what about the economy? We gotta keep things, And I mean, like our like Aldrich said earlier in the episode, for their way of life to continue, the invasions have to happen.
And it's interesting when he discusses, like, the brutality of the invasion, and he says, like, invasions take a lot of resources, so this needs to be done, like our way of life. And I wonder, I mean, they have all this power from the music box. How much of the invasion being necessary to society is not about keeping Utopia, like, glorious, but, like, enabling future invasion?
Oh my god. Yes, and I think a lot of it is self-perpetuating.
Yes, there's I realize quoting an old Roman general is like the most pretentious thing I could do.
That's fine.
There's a quote. It's the war feeds itself.
It does.
As an ideology, as like a way of, I don't have to tax my citizens if I can strip mine another planet.
Yeah.
This golden age is, made possible by the Mossmen and.
I mean, look, you're able to, like, keep your city, your kingdom prosperous by invading other worlds, but invading other worlds is costly. So, to pay for it, you got to invade other worlds.
Yeah, and
yeah, it's just self-perpetuating. But something that I noticed, and I'm really sorry for one of the frogs in one of the frogs
Mrs.
in
Croker.
the no, not Mrs. Croker. One of the frogs has a Stan Pines fez.
Iconic.
I was not ready for that.
What the hell?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's there
shit.
for like a second.
Yeah.
But it's one of the frogs on the right of one of the shots has like the fish with eating the little dot fez.
And while Leif is giving her speech while she's making her case to Aldrich, like apparently it's the same music as Marcy telling the truth in true colors, but I feel like that
I'm
had
gonna have to
her.
re-listen to the soundtrack.
I feel like that, like when she was like saying exactly what happened the day on Anne's birthday, I felt like that was like her theme, but the one we heard in 2B, this one sounds a little bit different.
Yeah, there is certainly like a falling on your knees, like revealing all.
Yeah, this is. I'm not entirely sure what this leitmotif like represents, but it seems to happen when a character is like, well, telling like a hard truth of some kind.
And I like how once after Leif makes her case, I like how what's probably going on in Aldrich's head is that the core is like kind of like looking through its history and then kind of like telling Aldrich what he should do, maybe.
Yeah, I do find it really interesting that like, he does the crown thing in full view of the entire royal court. So like, yeah, revealing the core to Andrias is like a big reveal and a rite of passage. It's not really a secret that the king has a weird advisor dude, or like magic.
Or maybe it's just like supposed to be like a little momentary thing that's not supposed to be noticeable. It's hard to tell, but it is really telling that Aldrich waits for the core to tell him what to do before making a decision.
It kind of reminded me of that Futurama scene where like I think it was Mafia Bot is on trial and the judge asks Mafia Bot what to do, even though he's the one on trial.
Jeez.
That's yeah.
So I just want to say that, dude. It's always creepy when Aldrich just like his eyes just pop out like.
Oh god, yeah. When Aldrich opens his eyes wide enough so you can actually see them.
Yeah, that just freaks me out. Memphis voice too, dude. Like, God.
Yeah, and he also brings up the Olms
being cowardly and like retreating from the world rather than take part in conquest.
I mean, to be fair, he's not entirely wrong about that part.
Yes, they didn't fight his conquest; they just said nope.
And for all this time,
I just love that.
Like for all this time, like they knew where the Olms were, but they never really interfered with them. But I guess there'd be nothing to gain from attacking like a party that really was uninterested in what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting, like the way that Aldrich refers to the stones. Like I don't know if y'all like how they're unique to their world.
Yeah, it is.
And gives them the divine right to do this.
Yes. It is very manifest destiny.
It is so manifest destiny.
It is very manifest destiny. And I can't help but notice he doesn't say it about the Newts. He the Newts are clearly in charge, but like this is like a global,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I just love like the slow escalation of his voice that he just gets like angrier and more intense. Like it's just delivered so well.
Yeah, and then like he raises his voice, and then Leif tries to make her case again, and then he's having none of it, and like it's like that really like that evil, grainy, scummy voice. where like he's like silence, like that Palpatine sounding.
Yeah. Silent.
And the way he ties this into like his prior idea about like your friends betraying you and like it's only been a day and they already want to dictate policy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
He says like our attention. Like, don't you just love that? Bring this to our attention.
And like both the royal we and the core thing.
Yeah.
And like him being ready to join the core, like he already sort of like is thinking like, yeah, I'm part of the core.
Yeah.
Look, he's really he's getting old. He just wants to like get this done with.
Yeah.
yeah, because when you think like if you're that old, like maybe he doesn't know when exactly his final moment is, but like he would probably
Going out on his own terms.
yeah, like because like probably the worst case for him is that he's like on his dying breath, and then he would never be able to like. I guess that fear of
Join the
death.
core.
Yeah, it's,
Cool, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think there is something, obviously, we don't have like real life experience with immortals. But
No.
like a common idea in fiction is that like immortal, like people who live a long time fear death even more than like people who realize that life is short.
And I mean, I think, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, the Leviathans, or at least Aldrich, never came to terms with the idea of dying.
Yeah.
And so now that he's, you know,
Yeah. He'd
reaching the
rather
end of his...
sacrifice his... Yeah.
He seems desperate.
Like, I mean, he knows his son has doubts about the invasion. He knows his son is close with two people he doesn't still trust. He knows his son is, like, still young and untrained, and he's like, nope, here's the key, see ya.
He's trying to dip. He's trying to dip as soon as he can.
and like, and Andrias did all this like with the good intentions. Like, he's like, "Oh, thanks, Dad, for hearing Leif out," and then Aldrich is like, "Nah, she's gotta go." And Andrias is like, "Wait,
Nah.
what? No, that's not what I wanted to do."
Nah, we can't be having any of this shit. She out of here.
And like, and I like how Beryl and Leif are probably just like they were just around the corner waiting to talk to him. Like, I'm surprised Leif didn't bring that up, but at least Andrias like fully defended Leif in this case, and that's when
it shows that he really did care about them.
like you said earlier, like you said, like our friendship is true, like, and he really meant it, and then then Aldrich brings up
he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, and then Aldrich brings up the point that like, oh, look, your friends are asking for favors again, and yeah, it you can see that like gets to Andrias too, and then when Leif like kind of tries to, I don't want to say this is like a black and white thing, but at least for us it is. But for the trio, like, Leif thinks it's easy, and we kind of see where they all stand. Where Beryl and Andrias are very much like conflicted about everything that has gone on and what is going to happen next. But Leif is like fully, I guess, since Leif saw the vision, she's like fully committed to what she has to do.
Yeah. And she doesn't have like the pressures of like, I guess it's because she's also like, she's like a gardener, right? So she doesn't really have like the sort of pressures that Beryl and Andrias might face when it comes to like leading an expedition like this. Yeah, I mean, she doesn't have like a giant. She doesn't have like a giant like immortal robot telling her to invade another world.
Well, and I mean, also
she thinks like she's just like, oh, you're in charge now, Andrias. You can fix it. Like, not even realizing that like its ruling isn't flipping a switch.
And that Andrias is under an immense amount of pressure because of the society he lives in and the expectations put on him. And also, I think one of the big things is that, and it's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but Leif didn't trust Andrias to make the right decision.
No, she didn't. And I think that there was a few, like, just how fast it happened. Like, I mean, you assume that Andrias would take some time to get settled into the throne before he gets, starts the invading, but Leif still acts immediately. Leif immediately steals the key. And I think that's, she's a planter, and the planters sometimes, like, hop stealing the box when he realized it was a danger. Like,
yeah, they make kind of bad decisions sometimes.
They take pressure, and, like, that's what actually Sprig stands out for, like, having the emotional capacity to have those conversations rather than, as impulsive as he is.
No,
he would not have stolen the box in this situation. He would have eventually, but he would have tried to talk to Andrias. He would have,
and I think it's just like kind of profound how this was a failure of like just the entire relationship as a whole, not just Andrias being a bad guy who succumbs.
And I think even if you really want to stretch it, you can talk about Beryl and Marcy, sort of Marcy being unable to mediate in the dinner, and Battle of the Bands being unable to sort of smooth over Sasha and Anne's relationship, to Beryl sort of not being able to do anything here.
Yeah. There is some. I do feel like there is some parallel between Beryl and Marcy,
and
there is. I think they did a great job.
I'm not just saying that.
I do think they did a great job making this parallel. Like, you could see some of the similar issues of power dynamics between the friends. Who has the authority? Whose parents are putting pressure?
Yeah,
who's impulsive? Who's not? But it's not a one-to-one comparison. It's not just Andrias is the Sasha, Leif is the Anne. Like, there are similarities and there are differences.
They're their own people.
Exactly.
These are universal problems. Like, these are universal relationship problems, and that's really, really cool to see.
And even before we got to that point where Leif stole the key, like, we get that moment where Andrias has to, like, snap back at Pink, and you get to see that tension.
He apologizes.
He apologized immediately,
I'm sorry.
and then immediately, like,
which, like, Sasha never does, or at least she didn't. But sorry.
And, like, immediately lashes out, then apologizes, and then we get to see the strain on the relationship with Beryl reacting, and then eventually, like, they all come back together, and we get that really, like, tragic, like, hug.
Oh,
because
that hug broke my heart.
Especially, and then you guys talked about, like, because, like, during that moment, Pink did steal the key, and and like you guys brought up about Sprig, like, I think this is a moment where I'm really hoping the planners do get to find out their heritage, because it very nicely sets up where Leif went wrong and what Sprig probably wouldn't do, and how he, like, excels in that regard.
I do find it interesting that, like, if you're looking at, like, the origins of these breakdowns, Leif stole the box because she knew something no one else did. She panicked, and she stole the box because of the visions. Marcy learned she was moving away. She panicked, and so had the box. She didn't physically steal it, but, like, instigated the theft that started this whole sequence of events. So,
so then we got to the part where Andrias is walking with his dad, and Aldrich is immediately transferring back, like, transferring ownership and leadership to Andrias in this moment. And yeah, just that realization with the key, like that's everything that kind of represented Andrew's like responsibility and authority, and we see it like Aldrich is immediately pissed off when Andrews runs off, and he just knows like everything's gonna like.
He knows immediately what happened.
Yeah, he did, and
It was just what I really do like about this betrayal is the fact that it sort of like validates the toxic ideas that Aldrich was trying to implant in Andrews, like the idea that his friends are going to use him, that they're going to betray him, go against him. Like just realizing what Leif did, like that. Yeah, that sort of gave him the impression that maybe he was right, but like obviously he's not right for his ideas, but like yeah, that definitely planted the fear in him.
yeah, and then okay, I used to think with the way Andrews talked about uh in True Colors, what he said about how he was betrayed by his friends, and we saw the flashback, and it wasn't like a one-to-one representation of what happened, but like it's like the visual. It was a visual cue about how like the friends turned their backs on him, and he was kind of taken off guard. And I thought all this would happen without Andrews actually seeing what was going on. And then but what actually happens is that Andrews does see everything fall apart in a way.
Yeah,
and
like he wasn't even exaggerating that much from his view.
Yeah, it just falls apart.
Not even from his view,
right? Just one day. Like it feels like it happened so fast.
Pink betrayed, not Pink. Leif betrayed them. There was a good cause for that, but it's still a betrayal.
Yeah, she just betrayed him. She did.
Jesus.
I'm not like saying that she should have let it happen. I'm not saying she made I'm not saying she made a right decision either, to be honest.
You're not saying that like trying to stop the invasion and the destruction of Amphibia was a bad move.
Yeah, no, that was a good stopping the genocide is good. I'm coming down firmly anti-genocide.
I am in agreement.
That's a tough position to take.
Yeah, I know. I know it's a bit controversial in this day and age, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, then we get the chase, and we get the chase, and then Barrel's just minding his own business, and then
yeah, seriously, like he's just trying to chill, man.
God,
the rage in Andrew's face is like, Leif's betrayed us. Let's go, and then
Barrel has the weirdest day. Like his best friend becomes king. Then
his other
half
best
an
friend,
hour after a really tense hearing, he sees his other best friend running down the hallway with the calamity box,
with a nuclear bomb,
just tucked into her arms. And then his first best friend is like, she's betrayed us, we need to go.
Yeah, I do. That
Holy shit.
Is my one qualm with the episode. Is that Beryl, like, he's not even when Andrias catches Leif. He's not even there. He never even, like, we see him conflicted, but it's really just more he's confused by what's happening. Like you said, it's been a weird day.
It's been a weird day.
It never quite feels like he, I never quite get the sense, like, he's even considering, like, is Leif right? Is Andrias right? I never get the sense that he's even questioning that right.
He never really had a chance to make a decision.
Yeah, and that makes him feel a little hollow compared to Andrias and Leif. Like he's the one I wish we got a little more of, just like personality-wise.
Yeah,
but yeah, the chase scene is fun. It's a nice action piece.
Yeah, we immediately walk by like a bunch of like specimens in jars, and you can see the bizarre little creatures inside one of them.
Shadowfish eye, and of course, Hootie fish.
Yeah, in the top right, and
yes, there was a fish. There was a swordfish that looks like Hootie, which I'm not sure how you come up with that idea on your own, but
yeah. So So they're running by. So because Barrel's a guard, I guess he knows all these like secret passages throughout the castle too, and
I mean, secret passages. He burst through a wall.
yeah, like the Kool-Aid Man.
I don't know if that counts as a secret passage.
No, well, the painting he goes inside was a secret passage. It's just, I guess he just comes out of the wall.
Yeah, but then he just bursts up through a wall. I guess
Like,
he's making like a dramatic entrance. Like he's one of those
like. I don't like. Yeah, if you enter through like a little corridor, but then you just bust through a stone wall, I don't know if that counts as a secret passage.
You took a shortcut.
Yeah, it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut.
I was trying to see how he like broke the wall because I thought he would use the hammer. I'm just quickly replaying the scene.
We do see the hammer has the orange fire, not pink.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so it seems like maybe Sasha was able to power it up, and
yes. Although I do have another idea, which we'll talk about once we get to the fate of Leif and.
Okay.
So yeah, like we get that quick conversation between Leif and Beryl, and like Beryl's just conflicted, and then Leif kind of just takes advantage of that to run past him, but
it's just.
Which, I mean, kind of. I feel so bad for Beryl in this.
Yeah,
he's
just.
Beryl's the
This must be such a weird day for him.
Beryl is kind of the Ann too.
Beryl is kind of. She just gets pushed along and goes
She's
away.
also the Marcy and the Sasha.
Truly, the way you created Matt Braley took, a season and a quarter, season and a half or so, slowly unfolding the dynamic of Sasha, Ann, and Marcy and their problems and what they mean to each other. And then in 11 minutes, he does something not quite as extensive, I'll grant.
No,
but he unlays this whole dynamic in 11 minutes, and it's great.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I would love to see more, but you can just feel how their friendship functions, just like on a gut level. At least that's how I feel about it.
And I think that's a testament to like Amphibia's writing of the trio, where they kind of gave like if Amphibia really wanted to, it could have just made Anne's relationship with Sasha and Marcy a lot like more simple. And maybe like the story could have worked the same way it did with the trio here. But then they decided to go with something a little bit more like fleshed out and interesting,
and complex.
Yeah, and the fact they were able to do that with the trio here is really like great, because like it helps that before this segment we had a sleepover to end all sleepovers and True Colors, and just like that seed, I guess. Just planting that so early on for the show helped us like contextualize where Andrias was coming from even before we got his backstory, because this episode doesn't really like change much for us. It just confirms everything.
Yeah, I mean that's that's kind of what it's like watching this show, because like that's exactly how Mother of Olms was in a lot of ways. Like, Mother of Olms really just confirm for people who watch the show like we do, it just confirms things that we already suspected. While for people who don't watch it like as religiously as we do, it's these new huge revelations.
Yeah, absolutely. And Yeah, we keep getting that chase and action scene with like Leif pulls out like that Frobo gun and starts like shooting blasters, and Andrews is just like he reminds me of like a Jedi just like deflecting blaster bullets.
As if his fire sword wasn't a lightsaber already. He starts deflecting power blasts.
God, yeah.
Dude, I didn't even. I was completely blown away by the fact that he actually swung at her with the fire sword. Like
he did.
Yeah,
he was swinging.
He just went for it. He just because that just shows how. Christ, I mean, like how desperate he is to live up to these huge expectations. I mean, like he doesn't even have like time to process all this. Like it's just dumped on him in a single day. Like he has no time to just think about anything. He just has to keep going and going and going. Like Jesus.
And that adds some context to when he stabs Marcy, because like
it does.
I'd sort of assume that he'd killed like one of them, or like grievously injured, or like there was some moment equivalent to the stabbing with his friends.
Yeah, I kind of always assumed that too.
But no, he attacks Marcy and finally does what he sort of nearly did with Pink, and like that's not what he always wanted to do. It may have even been like one of his fears that I don't want to hurt Pink. Like he's trying to we need to stop her before she does something stupid. He clearly isn't initially, even when she steals the box, isn't filled with a murderous rage. But he gets there.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing. We see like what happens in this. We see what happens that leads to him deciding to stab Marcy. Like he saw someone he viewed as a friend escape with the box once.
With the box.
Yep.
And he wasn't going to let it happen again.
Let that happen again.
And even when Leif escapes through the vent, like Anders immediately makes note of the fact that like Beryl didn't stop her, and like he's like it's a footnote to him, but he's still like, well, we'll find out later what he does with Beryl, but like it doesn't it's like burned into his memory kind of.
Yeah, his father's words got to him.
Yes. And just I did like how Pink grabs a gun and blasts her way through the walls of Newtopia, which even Sasha didn't do. That's such a Polly move.
Yeah.
To incredible violence and escape with a strange animal you befriended.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah, she escapes with the Mossman that is probably from Wally and Ann.
No man.
Yes. It definitely is the one from Wally and Ann.
Yeah, and she resolves to go see the Olms, which we heard about in Mother of All.
And it does. So when Pink visited Mother of Olms, she had the box with her at the time. That was something I wasn't sure about, whether or not Pink would meet up with them before or after this event, but now we know it's after, and I feel like that's something Mother of Olms should have brought up with the...
Look, her memory wasn't doing too hot.
Yeah, that's true.
She was having enough trouble remembering the prophecy that determines the fate of the world. I can't blame her for not noticing Sprig has a resemblance to a frog she met 1,000 years ago.
Oh no, I meant that if Mother of Olms remembered that not only was a frog here, but it also had the box. But yeah, Mother of Olms
even that might have been a bit much for the moo.
For old Whoopi. But yeah, and I want to bring up the scene at the end of Day of the Aquarium, where Marcy, he's like, "Isn't it so bad to see friends go?"
Yes, that scene.
Yes, I hear. Not
always
only
hurts
is
to see them leave, I believe.
Always hurts to see them leave. Not only is it someone else, leaving Newtopia for Wartwood, but he doesn't know that in this. but they chose to leave. Like, part of what made it so painful for Marcy and David Graham is that Anne chose to leave with the plan of overstaying with Marcy. And here Leif
chooses to leave
Andrias. And so when he says the proposition that she thinks will find interesting, not only is he manipulating her, but he is giving her a chance to avoid the same fate he had, like never seeing his friends again. I think he legitimately might think he's used Marcy, his preposition to Marcy as a way to spare her what happened there.
Yeah, in that moment, he was genuinely empathetic to what Marcy was feeling. Like it wasn't just another one of his manipulations for once. And honestly, I think a lot of the moments that we thought were just Andrias' manipulations weren't as disingenuous as we thought.
Yeah, they came from a real place of like pain, and
I am now remembered of Sasha in the dinner and Battle of the Bands and the end of the Third Temple, where like she has a manipulative goal, but at the same time the emotions she's faking aren't fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's always like the sort of feeling I got from Andrias. Like even at his cruelest moments, like he was still coming from like a source of pain, right? Like I always felt like there was this sort of side of himself that he was trying to hide away of how evil he was acting sometimes. Like I don't know, it's just
like he was being so over the top cruel to kind of hide his own perceived weakness.
We see that in True Colors when he's, so cruel to Marcy. We see it. We're gonna move right on to the scene with Beryl here.
Well, before that, I just wanted to show when Pink and Andrias are like Andrias is on like the brink of like tears and rage, and Pink is feeling the same thing as well.
She's crying as she rides away.
Yeah, just like there's just so many emotions going on with with Andrias here. He's just shouting in the rain. Like it reminded me of I feel like we had this kind of scene with like Zuko in Avatar where it's like he was in the rain and like
to strike him. Yeah.
I think what was the episode called?
Zuko 1.
Bitter Work was the one where he was crying in the rain.
Oh
yeah, that was it.
Maybe okay.
But Zuko
sorry,
has similarities to this one as well. The flashbacks and the trauma.
I thought Zuko alone had this crying in the rain scene. My bad. It's been a while.
Yeah, and Pink like has her own regret about it, and
then and she says the box can't be safe in Amphibia, which sets up her own fun journey.
Yeah, in a way, it's like Pink is giving up everything for this box, and Andrias is like losing everything. It's like,
God, it's so good.
and then
and the Beryl's just there, like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
and then we do get the scene of Aldrich being like, "You're such a disappointment, son. You lost everything. We're gonna have to like bury our civilization."
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, we gotta put the salt. Like, we gotta pack the car up and put it in storage and like thanks a lot. Now I have to call insurance and."
He's still joining the Corps. Like
he is even after
your entire civilization is collapsing, and you're going off to the Corps. And I will not make a contemporary political reference because I don't want to start a fight. But I'm sure you can think of it.
Yeah,
I made the exact same. I made a very similar point in chat earlier.
Yeah,
and I like how Aldrich is saying all this oh you screwed up blah blah, and the Corps is probably whispering in his head well now hold on there we got this prophecy still happening, and then Aldrich is he's like okay yeah you still messed up but
you have a chance.
And then we get that moment where Andrias is pleading with Aldrich the same way Marcy was with him in True Colors. It's
God, this
just because you brought up
so much insight onto that scene.
And just you brought up Zuko earlier, and this got me thinking. The way for much of like at the end of season 2, when he like redeems himself by like doing the bad thing, like Andreas' idea of what redemption looks like is like the complete opposite of like what an actual Andreas redemption would have to be.
Yeah. He views like the only way he can make things right is by, well, doing exactly what his dad said.
Yeah, and even with the way, like, and probably to Andrus's eyes, it's like his redemption arc doesn't even start until Earth is invaded.
Yeah.
Like everything up to this moment was just him, like, trying to, like, was like just
Hold
setting
the Empire together.
Yeah, it's like just getting everything set up just for this thing to begin. Not the invasion, but just like his actual like redemption to begin. Like all of his actions beforehand like don't mean anything.
God, the title Peacekeeper of 1,000 Years has a whole new meaning now.
Yes.
Like just the title Peacekeeper of 1,000 Years has got to be like shameful for Andrias.
It's either because like we didn't see how he got that mark on his armor. Like presumably,
No, he didn't.
I mean, a society can't go from like modern technology to like medieval stuff smoothly. So I'm imagining Andrias had to spend a lot of time like fighting to keep Amphibia united, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm presuming that's where he got the scar. So like, instead of the glorious conquests of his ancestors, he was scrambling to keep together the bare minimum.
And God, yeah. I know I already said it, but the scene with Aldrich chewing out Andrias is just so good when you look at how it affected his actions in true colors.
Yeah, and then we get the scene where Andrias goes back to his room, and like that's when we get the caste system, and he pretty much just
I fucking love that.
Yeah, Nick, I know
Yeah,
you.
like how-
Yeah, Nick, I know you wanted to talk about this a lot.
That was
Yeah,
I mean, sorry, continue.
I mean, we already saw that sort of there was like the neutral were in control pretty firmly, but there were some frogs and toads at court. Beryl was a guard. Leif was a gardener. So you sort of saw but not in sort of like an informal system,
More
sort of just.
The difference between a class system and a caste system.
Yes, that is a perfect way of phrasing it. And then Andrias is just like, no, I'm applying all my feelings to about one frog to all the frogs and one toad to all the toads. And I feel like this scene is important because like you don't want to make Andrias too sympathetic. And so, like, him implementing a case system is bad. And, like, he's the one who breaks the friendship with Beryl. Like, if he wanted to, he could have stayed friends with Beryl. So, like, that just reestablishes that, yeah, Andrias bears the responsibility for that. Unfairly blaming Beryl.
The scene with Beryl was so heartbreaking.
And he salutes, and Your Highness, which he never, instead of Andrias. And, yeah.
My God, that hurt to watch.
Yeah, because
it's just I don't know.
We talked some about the hammer being this common guard symbol.
because
becoming this sort of legendary toad symbol.
Yeah,
but like being sent to guard the towns is like the pride and joy of what the toads do at the start of Amphibia, and it's a punishment. It's
exile until death, effectively.
And I do. You mentioned his death because I mentioned my qualm about Beryl not having a lot of agency in this episode, not really getting to make a choice, sort of just getting barreled around by events. But think about how he died. He died defending a village. He stood his ground against a monster. He made a decision. He made a decision for the side of good. And he may have died, but at least he was, that was his choice.
Yeah, he died protecting people.
He died a guard. He died sort of a master of his own fate.
God, I would.
I kind of like how.
I know we probably won't, but man, I want another flashback at some point.
I want, or some lore about what he went up to. Like, I want Grime to know, and just the Toads to know what Andrias did to them, and the Frogs too. Yes.
I do think it's kind of fitting how Beryl was the common man, the common guard, and then with a common weapon, and then all of that ended up becoming much more than that. And even in the trio, he was the middleman for Andrias and Leif, and that's why I don't really mind how little I don't mind how little we got with Beryl in the right now, and probably with how involved Andrias is going to be in the future, and Pink's Leif's involvement. Beryl might end here. Well, we still haven't seen Beryl's Warhammer yet since in 3B, so it might make a return. And
I wonder where that was in Grimes' pupil, because he didn't use it at all. But yeah.
And so we covered Beryl, I think, and
this is sort of an awkward point. It's sort of a theory about the hammer. Should I do it here or at the end?
You can do it now.
Yeah, this is fine.
So, yeah, we're nearly there anyway. Sort of, Leif runs off with the box, and Beryl sort of goes off. It's possible they meet up before she flees to Earth, and that's when it gets charged. Strength, add strength to the hammer. Make it legendary. I don't necessarily think that's a better theory than the Sasha powers it up theory. I think that's still probably more likely, but I do want to note the possibility that
yeah. So does he banish Beryl before the scene where Aldrich says the box has left the world?
No, it's after, I think.
No, but I'm not. Does he say left the world, or does he just say it's lost?
No, he said it's left. It's no longer Amphibia.
Is it?
Or I think he said. Wait, I'm replaying the clip.
I feel like the timeline may be a little wonky there, just in terms of travel until.
Oh, the box has left this world.
The box has left this world, so yeah, unlikely.
It seems like he has reason to believe that the box is gone.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe not, but I do think.
I would love if Leif and Beryl met up before
one last time, and I do Andrias was surprised that Anne still had powers, despite the box being charged. But he was not surprised that there were powers existed in the first place.
Yeah,
which I mean weird to me, because no one here they don't use the box to give people superpowers. They use it to charge their armies.
I mean, I guess they could just know that that's something that can happen, but it just doesn't.
Yeah, so that's a little weird. So I'm, And then he slashes the portrait, and
that's the end of the flashback. And and then it cuts away to it being burned. And I know, Nick, you really wanted to talk about this moment. I mean,
Yeah, it's just. Oh, you go ahead.
no, you go ahead. We haven't talked in a while.
I don't,
Lemur.
yeah,
Sorry,
I don't
not
have
Lemur,
like.
Nick.
I don't have too much to say about it, but it's just like I don't know. I guess just the sadness of it because like this is what I feel like for the longest time I've always just kept on. I always kept on like making these theories, these ideas about Andrews that he's just like this big teddy bear who actually does feel all this stuff, but he's always trying to beat down those emotions, and we got like signs of that, and like True Colors, Olivia Union, but like I feel like this is really the episode that just makes that totally clear because he still does care, he still does feel for people, like he still wants friendships, but he's always trying to fight against that feeling, and like yeah, this is probably like the most evident scene. Like he's still thinking about them, he still cares about them, he still thinks, what could I have done better? Like how could this have been changed? Like but I don't know. He just I'm not. I can't like fully put into words what's stopping him, but like I guess at this point, like he just doesn't. He's just afraid of like I guess of what acknowledging his failures could mean for him. He's afraid of turning back and just realizing. I mean, how like. Oh, go ahead.
He's terrified of vulnerability.
And I like how the moment where he stops thinking about Leif, like what she told him about, like using his powers for good, like he has to look back at the core, like as if to kind of like reassure himself that he's like he knows he's not on the right path. It's just like it's the only thing he's known.
He can't turn back. If he turns back now, it means that all this was for nothing.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, and I know we all saw it, that tiny moment of hesitation.
To flip the switch.
Oh,
I mean,
that briefest moment.
And even before that, like it's so like unsettling seeing like Darcy just like sleeping, like a tea,
It's like
just
Darcy's essentially dead, right? I mean, like the core is shut off, Marcy's trapped, like nothing is running the body. It's just there.
Yeah.
If he unplugged would it have done anything? Like if he just took off the helmet and unplugged the cord, like would that have changed anything? Like could he have done anything in that moment?
I think if he unplugged Marcy from the helmet when it was turned off,
maybe,
then what would happen is that the core would be shut off, but Marcy would still be in the little room.
Ooh, okay. Alright, dang.
Yeah.
It seems just I don't know. It's just so sad. Like this is probably like the saddest. Like it's not even just. Like I feel like if you personally feel like the episode goes too fast for you to feel too invested in the friend group, then you can at least have Andrias there because you've seen enough of Andrias to get invested into the character. And this is the saddest we've seen in the entire series, and it's just like he's a monster, but like he's also still a man. He's also still a person. He still has his complex feelings that you can care for, you can feel pity for, and just. Yeah, I don't know. I just
he's so well fleshed out.
And
I just love that small sigh he does after he sees her fully charged. Like he just seems so tired of this. Like he's just.
I mean, he's
like
been doing this for 1,000 years.
It's so sad. Like it's just so sad.
He's this. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think he's so tired of this.
And even it really helps how like for this like storyline with the trio, like Andrias is pretty much like our anchor to that, and like sure there's like, oh, maybe I wish we got to spend more time with this original trio, maybe I wish there's more characterization for Beryl, but like because like and like because this is all happening in service of Andrias, along with like Leif's, along with the setup that like everything fell apart because of a planter, kind of helps makes the story feel more complete.
It's the planter's fault
Because
the
of a
whole time.
planter? Yeah, because of those goddamn planters.
Those goddamn planters.
And I really hope everyone finds out what their heritage is. Like, I hope the planners find out about Leif. I hope Andrias finds out that Leif was a planner, just to make it, just to pour salt into the wound for Andrias.
I really want there to be an episode addressing that.
Like, I just want Andrias to have that realization that, like, that these frogs are the same. It's like the same people have been screwing him over for generations.
And he was like, "Oh, when I threw out the pink frog out the window, I didn't think I was literally taking revenge. I just think it was."
I guess he must have. Maybe was Leif not called? Was Leif's last name not Planter
Leif
back then?
Never said Planter. I don't know if that's just she didn't have a last name or it just wasn't brought up. He does say in the Planter's check-in, he does say, "Hello, Planter family. I've been waiting to see you."
He also said, "Bring me the planters," which is a
"Bring me the planters," which
sure is a sentence.
But keep
yes, and Marcy would have never been able to tell him about them.
Well, Olivia would have told him, but
Olivia would have told him that.
True.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's been that was
but
how I justify it. Because I mean,
Olivia would have told them they were there, but he still would have prioritized Anne over that, given the prophecy, right?
He would. He probably would prioritize Anne. So it is interesting, and I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
I feel maybe Andrias, if he did, because the thing is, in True Colors, Andrias was just trying to get into everyone's head, and if he did know that the planners were related to Leif, I would think if he knew he was winning, he would want to rub that in little bit.
Yeah, which he does seem to kind of gloat about it.
Yeah, because he gloats about what Marcy told him with Flipboard, because he knew he was counting on that dividing people.
So yeah, I don't know. I can see it going either way with him knowing that that Leif was a planter, or him not. And I'm not sure which direction they're going to go with.
And then the computer screen with Darcy said, so optimization in progress, and the Utopian language, it translates to memory wipe in progress. So
all right, and I've joked about it, but that's not actually Marcy's memory getting erased.
Yeah, the core was lying around for 1,000 years, probably just
Well, also okay, just for an example, so the core already knew about the prophecy, but then the core told Aldrich about the prophecy. It doesn't need both of those memories.
Right.
It doesn't need to remember being told about the thing it already knew about.
I mean, just from the fact that, Marcy, the Marcy mannerisms continue after the light. It's just gold star for you.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people say it's to erase memories of Anne and Sasha or anything that would make Marcy either happy or resist. But the core, it gives no sign that it's having any trouble with controlling Marcy.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think it was just some.
Yes.
What I personally think it was is optimizing so it no longer needs to have the cord out of its head to walk around.
Yeah, this episode, establishes Darcy, establishes just how the similarities to Marcy are going to be very painful for Sasha and Anne. So it established that. So the one thing that remains to really cement Darcy as a villain going into the finale is is she a physical threat? Are they? And cutting the cord is a big part of that.
Yeah, I like her walking around with the cord trailing behind her. That's fun, but if we're gonna have our anime girl fight, she can't keep that.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for is she gonna get some sort of power up, some sort of like boost, like what's gonna make
Andrias' shield still hasn't been explained.
Yeah, or just all kinds of crazy tech.
Yeah,
I'm expecting Iron Man.
Yeah,
I'm expecting Iron Man level shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Marcy, for all her clumsiness, is a capable fighter in her own right.
Yeah, she was.
So I'm very interested to see in what comes up. Yeah, but yeah, I don't buy the memory wipe. I certainly don't buy any sort of permanent memory wipe. Anything that was lost will be returned.
I just feel like Darcy definitely want to try to erase Marcy's memories. It's like they were literally like having literally just right at the beginning of the episode, they were having lots of fun.
They were having a blast.
Looking over Marcy's memories, experiencing new things. Like it was.
If anything, the wipe would be of not Marcy's memory, but like the Marcy personality that still lives in the little bit.
Yeah, I
that's
think
the only thing it would want to wipe. But that's not a memory. That's like a separate entity. Although it could be memory in the sense of computer memory, but whatever.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. Nope, it's gone.
When Darcy woke up, it had the Mac noise.
Oh god, the Mac noise.
I thought it was like the PS2 startup noise, but apparently it's the Mac one.
Yeah, the classic Mac noise. That was so funny.
Like, hopefully Apple doesn't sue them for something. I don't know.
I think that counts as parody.
Yeah.
Unless they're claiming that their operating system is used by Aldrich monsters.
In which case it's libel. Although actually libel, you have to harm the reputation, so never mind.
Yeah. I remember what I was about to say. Something that I think definitely stops the core from wiping Marcy's memories is the fact that Marcy's weird ass, nerd memories are the first new experiences the core has had in 1,000 years.
Yeah, it wants to clutch onto those things. I feel like the core was talking about redundant memories. So if we're talking about redundant memories here, I mean, they were stuck in a basement for thousands of years. So it's imagine how many hours of
just staring at a
wall. Yeah, right. So it's I don't blame them for trying to get rid of those. I mean, they're just staring at a wall for hours, waiting for something cool to happen, right? They're going to want to erase those.
And I do want to. Yeah.
And
I want to circle. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No,
yeah.
Make your point. No, make your point because I'm moving topics.
All right. No, I was just about to say that they the core just seems so happy to have these dumb little interests again.
I guess what I'm interested in is there's no indication in the flashback that the core wants a host. It's a very supportive role to the king. Now there is some control. And I wonder how much Andrias' failure made the core think, I need a host so I can rule in my own right, so I can take the lead, so this doesn't happen again.
Well, I think it's dual. I think it's dual purpose. First, yeah, absolutely, does not want to trust anyone else with its fate. But I also think that Newtopia Castle being shut down for 1,000 years showed the core how vulnerable it was. It was trapped in that basement, unable to move for millennia.
I'm presuming since it's a giant computer thing, it could interact with the castle and sort of know what was going on outside that room.
I don't think it could. I don't think it could because Andrias had to walk downstairs to give it reports face to face.
Before the fall of before the box was stolen.
Oh, before the box was stolen, yeah.
Before the
box was stolen, yeah.
It could move. Yeah.
Yeah, but before the
box
box was stolen, it could move around. It could
with the
look
Yeah.
through the crown. Like, it
Exactly,
could do whatever
so-
it wanted.
Yeah, Andreas lost.
And it realized how vulnerable it was. And I think that's why it wants a body that doesn't have to be hooked up to a giant machine.
Yes. Although now it gets one that catches capes on fire, so.
Well, win some, you lose some.
Yeah. And if Marcy dies, does the core die? I mean,
if
probably, but I hope Marcy doesn't die.
No, that's exactly. I don't think it will. I'm just thinking from a perspective. It's probably easier to destroy that Marcy's body than the spider thing.
True.
In terms of just self-preservation. But I see your point. And I think,
and having
now that it knows that you can have both the box cards and calamity powers thanks to Anne, I mean, what's to stop, returning some power to Marcy while possessing her, and now you're a superhero nerd.
and like since the core has Marcy, it's pretty good leverage against Anne and Sasha from doing anything like drastic, because like it's like, oh, you kill me, you're killing Marcy. But
Yep, that's fair. And have we discussed? It's been so long since we did. I can't remember if this was chat or earlier in the podcast. Have we talked about if Andrias and the core know that Anne is back in Amphibia?
yeah,
We don't know for sure. A scout drone spotted Anne.
Sprig destroyed it, but presumably it did broadcast the location.
Yeah, so there's.
But only the location? I don't know.
It just hasn't confirmed whether or not Anne just would be able to has seen that footage. Like maybe like that drone has to keep passing that information on. And,
actually, yes, and I'm sorry, I just had another thought.
We know. Oh, continue. Sorry,
this is another bit of a swerve. But yes, Anne had to help charge the portal Terry made in order to get it big enough to move. But the fact that humans can now construct their own version of the music box, they can now make portals, flies in the face of what Aldrich was talking about the sort of divine right of the stones. And so I kind of want to see its reaction if it finds out how Anne got back. Like that.
That some savage humans were able to replicate the box even just a little bit.
I want to see them lose their shit. I really want to see them lose their shit so bad now that you guys brought that up.
Yeah, because technically,
awesome.
Anne and the humans, they did it with one gem and a fraction of its power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just, I'm not sure whether or not the show, because the show, this segment at least addressed that using the box's power is something they shouldn't have. Well, the Mother of Olms, like they brought up that maybe these powers shouldn't be used. Leif is bringing up that these powers shouldn't be used, and now the humans have a way to replicate like a fraction of this power, which kind of required Anne's connection to the stone side, like to fully like travel or break the boundary instead of like just like opening like a little hole in it. And I'm curious how that's going to end up. But
there's a series of books called World War where there are these aliens and they progress very slowly. It took them like 1,000 years from getting to a plane to a rocket ship, and they scout out the Earth like during the medieval era, and they're like, oh, it'll be easy to conquer, and then they show up and they're shocked by just how fast humanity has advanced. And obviously Andrias knows from Marcy and Cloakbot and all that how much humanity has advanced, but it's still a very different proposition to invade Earth now than invade Earth in the 1100s.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess the only thing left to cover on this episode is like the credits scene where.
Actually, no. There are two more things I'd like.
Darcy's line at the end.
Darcy's line at the end, and the fact that the invasion we were just discussing is now like imminent. Like Darcy's like, all right, let's get going.
I mean, personally, that's felt like that for like the past like 3 episodes with like.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, the invasion was imminent in Froggy Little Christmas, and no progress has been made. So that's a little,
I'll be honest. I think so. My headcanon for that is Darcy wanted to be free of the Cord so we could take part in the invasion itself.
That works. I could also see that, Sasha and the rebels are disrupting supply collection a bit.
Yeah.
Multiple factors, build up the army, wanting to kill Anne so she can't interfere, but, getting fed up with that. They decided, Anne's back in Amphibia. No one's protecting Earth.
I mean, I'm just saying the fact that they have to. I mean, yeah, they haven't really. I mean, I know they have like robots taking care of any resistance fighters, right? Any signs of that, but like I feel like they have no clue that like a giant resistance army is slowly being built in Amphibia, right? So like, they're thinking of just jumping to invading Earth. So I feel like at some point, I feel like this might give more evidence to fight or flight, but at some point they have to realize that they kind of have to take care of this thing first before they actually go to Earth. Otherwise, they're gonna have something coming to them.
Yeah, they are very vulnerable to an attack in the rear from rebels. Although I will also say that one of the things about the moon thing is that I always thought the final battle would be on Earth, and it's just all the people from Amphibia coming to help Earth because of Anne and friendship and whatever. But between the invasion of Earth and anything the box breaks over there, and the moon crash in Amphibia, it looks like there's going to be stakes all over the place. Fighting, it's going to be all, important.
Yep.
Yeah, there's going to be very high stakes for this finale.
I could see them beating the invasion of Earth, and then the actual finale being, the actual climax being saving Amphibia.
Right, and I think
God, like imagine if All In is just the invasion of Earth, and they're like, "Yay, we won!" And then they realize,
yeah, like
fucking Majora's Mask ass.
Before we get to that, like
all the humans can come help out Amphibia, like the planners help them, they can go help save the.
Yeah, before we get into this, let's just cover the final part with Aldrich's voice like comes out from the core or from Darcy, and just kind of like it was kind of implied like throughout this whole like episode where like Aldrich is just like begging to like get shoved into that core, and like it kind of confirms to us like that is the case, and
yes,
the voice of your father like speaking back at you from beyond.
Like, holy shit. And I mean, I think this is pretty explicitly in yet another manipulation for Andrias. Like, the core is clearly using that voice specifically because, I mean, they know Andrias will do anything for his dad's approval.
And it doesn't even say proud, almost proud.
God, such an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in one of the scenes earlier where Darcy's like, I'm not the only one who's like needs to perseverate. I think I heard the voice drop a little bit, which may have been foreshadowing for this. But I may have been hearing it.
It might have been. I'd have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if one of the voice actors that is doing the Legion voice is
William
I forgot
Houston.
what the actor's name. Yes, I would not be surprised if he is like just a permanent part of the synthesized Legion voice for the core, and they just kind of cranked his levels up a bit for that line.
Maybe, yeah, it'll be worth re-listening to all those few Darcy lines we've got before this episode. But yeah, and then we have like the credits where, I mean, this is the second time where the credits have changed this episode. Well, third time. At least in Olivia and Unit, it was just like a black screen for us to like
Think
Just-
about it.
get to think about it. But here, like, yeah, we still got to just like suffer with that paint. And for that brief moment in the credits, they have the portrait like just shift over a little bit. I thought when I first watched this, I thought like it was someone like sitting in a chair getting up, but yeah, then it was just like the portrait moving. And
Yeah, that was like, and I was like expecting something to happen, but no, we just watched the last remnants of Andrew's friend Burn.
yeah, and that was the Corn the King. And
That was the core and the king.
yeah, this was like a terrific episode, and
One of Amphibia's best by a long shot.
I mean, in terms of yeah. It's gonna be so much fun, like rewatching like the Newtopia arc. And
Oh yeah, I mean, just yeah, like episodes like these, they just change how I feel about that arc overall. Like what was once like this fun exploration of this cool, amazing city, now it's just like all the history we know about it now, of everything that's just like all the context of that location. Now it's just like it's complicated.
God.
Like, it feels a lot more complicated.
Newtopia is built on the blood of a dozen worlds.
so I think we can.
And I mean,
Oh, go ahead, PC.
and I mean, like, they were not subtle about the allegories that were being done in this episode.
Yeah,
Like they were not subtle about the we live in a
sustainability.
society stuff.
Like
Yeah,
I like
and I was a little surprised. I'm sorry.
I liked how
going,
the sustainability themes all came back together, and I just like Pink comparing that to the multiverse itself. I really liked. I like
Yeah.
where this is going.
I mean, the Amphibia just came out and said unchecked expansion for the sake of just, imperialistic expansion is not what's the word I'm looking for? Sustainable.
The IDW Transformers comics did something similar, where like when the Transformers race like colonized all these worlds, it ended up creating Unicron. So I like these parallels.
Yeah, I am a little surprised they went there because for much of it, the themes of Amphibia have been very close. Anne's friendships, building trust. At what point is redemption is possible? Sasha. So it's a little surprising to me that they're now bringing in these larger themes about sustainability, about empire. But I'm very glad they're doing it.
Well,
I'm very glad they're doing it. It's being handled so well.
It is, and I think it kind of flows naturally in a lot of ways, because like we've seen how individuals can overcome toxicity, but you can't just ignore the fact that a lot of toxicity comes from society. Like, a lot of toxicity is societal, and that needs to be addressed. It's not enough for individuals to be better.
And I think that's true, and I think that also means that we need a bittersweet finale. Because, like, if there's a big battle and everything's better, that sort of undermines this idea of having to work to be better, having to work to improve society. So
having to do the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. So it just can't be one good big battle and the evil is defeated. Like, that can work in some context, but once you've introduced like societal problems, systemic problems, you can't just wait for it all. And so that's something that the crew now has to do in the finales. I'm sure they'll do it well.
Yeah, I'm fully confident in their ability to do that. But boy, is it gonna hurt. Especially since they introduced the idea that traveling between worlds is bad.
Yeah.
And like, boy, it sure does feel like the worlds are getting totally separated and the box is getting destroyed at the end of this.
We'll find out soon. And I think this is I wanted to talk about the Screenrant article a little bit and the screenshot we got, but we don't have enough time. I think
Wait, what time is it?
we're three
Oh
and a
my
half
God.
3.5 hours in.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
I guess the main takeaway is that Matt is praising season 1 again, as always, which is great. He talks a little bit about Sasha, talks a little bit about the planners and Anne on Earth. Just a lot of it is
Having
like
his mom
validation.
voice act,
And then like they brought up the final episode the final episode lengths. All in is 48 minutes. The hardest thing is 29 minutes. They're going to be airing. Usually, Amphibia airs in the morning. They're airing it Saturday evenings for these final 2 episodes. So that's going to be interesting, especially when the final episode is shorter than the penultimate episode.
And the beginning of the end is slightly longer as well.
Right? Yeah, it's like think about
he didn't give it.
he didn't give it an exact number.
yeah.
But we also got like a screenshot with the girls like that we've never seen before, but we don't have time to talk about it. I think
yes, dance. I mean, there's a whole discussion to be had about Marcy's mindscape that we put off, but
Yeah, Marcy's mindscape is seeing inside that little room is going to be fun.
Right.
It's going to be fun.
And
just to get, it could either be a fantasy or like a nightmare where the core is taunting her,
or both. Ooh.
Or both. And we suspect that the screenshot we got is from that mind.
Right. Yep. And
we can talk about it next week.
That pretty much concludes this week's recording. Next week we'll be covering Newts and Tights and Flight or Flight. So this is a pretty long one. I'll try and add whatever timestamps I can. But
yeah,
thanks for listening, and see you guys next week. Say goodbye, everyone.
Yeah.
You guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.